All right, here we go. DJ Akademiks. Welcome to Vlad TV for the first time ever.
Yo, Vlad, man, I'm happy to be here, man.
I know, man. We've been talking for what?
I feel like it was a couple of years, man.
Years and years.
Yo, we've been like me and you, we've had a very mutual and cordial relationship for definitely years.
Yeah.
You know, I always told people, like, you're one of the first people in this, this industry and this media game that instead of looking at someone new coming up and you looked over at someone else doing something different and be like, yo, you look envious. You were like, nah, yo, welcome to the game. Hey, listen, if you need anything, you need any resources, yo, I got you. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, I want to be an ally. And that's not usually how people greet you in especially this hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, how could I suppress you? How could I hate on you? How could I make sure I have like some ultimate card to stop your shit and I'm always above you? But, I think that's one of the reasons why, over time, like I always tell people, I'm like, yo, I rock with Vlad. Like he's shown me nothing but, being a good guy, being a good businessman and whatever. I don't care what nobody say about you. Like, I deal with people how they deal with me.
Yeah.
I always told people the story. And we talked about it when you were on my podcast. I was like, I remember before I even got into this, one of the things that really got me interested, I was like, yo, I'm watching you on the Breakfast Club. And you say, yo, listen, if you do something every fucking day, every day,
yep,
whether you upload a song, the consistency is going to work. And I turned that into kind of my motto, consistency, consistency and being persistent became the key.
Yeah.
So I started I'm in college way too long. I think I stayed in college probably 6-7 years. And I'm like, you know what? Like already, I was a DJ, right? So I'm a DJ, and at a certain point, because I went to school for biomathematics, I had to pick, what are you gonna do? Like, I really became a DJ to get girls, but I had years of fun with that already. And now reality was starting to hit. So I'm getting student loan letters from Sally Mae because I dropped below the level of being part-time. And that's when they could collect. So they're hitting me with all type of bills. And I'm like, damn, I got to get a real job eventually. But is this whole DJing thing and entertainment thing, because I used to produce, then DJ, and then I got into college radio. I'm like, am I just going to abandon that, or that's just a hobby? And I said, man, screw it. Let me just buckle down. And for the next 2 to 3 years, I did it every day, making, I got to say, 5 to 7 videos a day, man, just churning them out. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of shit. But, going back to the motto you said, if you do something for a straight year, you're going to see some marginal success. And it's not going to be like you blew up. And that's one of the things I think that really helped me in knowing you're not going to just start from zero and get to the top of the mountain overnight. I hate when rappers simplify the story. Yo, it's my 3rd song. It's the biggest song in the world. You know what I mean? You got to put your 10,000 hours in. You got to put some work in. And at the end of the day, for me, I used to, I still do it to this day. Obviously I'm in a different position, but while I was on the path of trying to making it, I used to, every night on New Year's Eve, I used to say to myself, is what I'm doing making sense? And I always said to myself, because you never know when success is going to come. And when I mean success could be, it's relative. Success for me was, this could be a livelihood. And shoot, that would have been, hey, if I make 40 grand a year, I could survive off of that.
Yeah,
you get
a
me?
real job. Yeah.
So that was success, right? And for me, I was like, yo, every the last day of the year on New Year's Eve, I used to say, if I can't do this for another 10 years without success, I probably don't love it that much. I graduated from Rutgers with a degree in biomathematics. I could go work in a lab, make 6 figures.
Mm-hmm. Easy.
Why do this if you don't love it? And it was the constant test of saying, don't waste your time. College taught me that too. Don't waste your time. At a certain point, you got to start making decisions. I see a lot of people who are really talented, but then they give up before they get to the point of success. So, I always salute you for that, man, because I think I call you the OG of independent media for real.
I'll take that.
And I think that's a dope nod, because I think when we look at the media atmosphere we're in now, it's really ran by a bunch of independent outlets. That's where the narrative is really driven from. That's where the Everybody else is regurgitating.
Yeah.
The bigger outlets, like they've lost the source of what made them them. They might have that one thing, like Double XL, will be like, oh, we still got the freshman list, right?
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, they're like, yo, hey, so-and-so went on Vlad and this is the news for the day. Oh, snap. This happened with Akademiks. Oh, snap. This happened over at No Jumper or Say Cheese or whatever else. So you get to realize who are the outlets really pushing things.
Yep.
So I consider you like one of the first, well, really on the hip hop side, you're the first in that wave. You know, like again, when I was watching you, I'm still in college. You know what I mean? Like I'm only trying to map this out in my head. And I think it's like, it's a great thing that, you know, it kind of came true.
You and I, we don't really get our flowers. We don't get our nominations. And
I think
our
you don't get
awards.
shit. No, me, I fight for my shit. Yo, Vlad. Yo, we've had this conversation. This is an age-old conversation between me and Vlad.
Yeah.
Man, Vlad, you got to take this shit. Like you allow so much disrespect, and I think, you know, it's because you've always had a plan and it came true. But there was so many times I've seen people try to band together, try to slander your brand, slander you as an individual. They say this, yo, no one should fuck with him because of this. They'll make up a reason, right? And for me, I take it personal. And for you, you've always taken it in stride. I remember talking to you one day. I can't remember what they were saying. It was probably one of the multiple times they're like, yo, Vlad's name is like in the paperwork for whoever.
Even though it's not true.
And I'm like, yo, Vlad, like, I'm thinking like, yo, Vlad, yo, you got to go harder. This is false. This is not true. They're lying.
Yeah.
And I think you were just like, yo, listen, of course I'm going to address it, but there was no immediate thing to, oh, I got to go get at this. You're like, well, they just gave me the most traffic I've gotten this month.
Right. And I'll just wait. I'll wait for the opportune moment. You know, I mean, I deal that with pretty much anything. Like if someone disses me or talks a bunch of shit about me or whatever, I'm like, all right, I'll wait.
You're a patient motherfucker.
I'll wait. You know, I remember Freddie Gibbs talked a bunch of shit about me over the years. I'm like, I didn't respond. I said, I'll wait. Then I got that phone call about Prime 112. And I was like, here we go.
Which is so ridiculous.
I'm not waiting anymore.
Which is so ridiculous. He's still denying it. But that is the difference between us. And I think in our conversations, this is why I cherish, the relationship we have in that we don't necessarily do things or approach things the same way.
Yeah.
But there is a respect about how we approach things, and there's a respect about how we deal with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always just looked at people in the media. There's a certain type of, decor you got to have, especially with your peers. And for me, especially with people who are in this, I call it just a new independent media, because I feel like the older traditional media, I think they kind of go out their way to almost like pretty much disrespect what we do.
100%.
For example, you could break a story, and if TMZ reports the same story, but they didn't cite you, they'll credit TMZ, they won't credit you. You know that. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Happens all the time, yeah.
So it's one of those things where even when I look at the BET Awards for Best Hip Hop Platform, I'm looking at this shit. I'm like, yo, what the hell's going on? Like no disrespect, and I love Angie. They nominated Shade Room. You know what I mean? Nominated the Shade Room, Hip Hop DX. You know what I mean? I'm looking at this shit. I'm like, yo, if we're talking about hip hop, you're either going to be in tune with what's going on, or you're just going to be just throwing up familiar names. And I think, honestly, it's taking a slight at the people who are probably, or the outlets who are probably taking their market share a little bit. So I kind of get it.
Yeah, man. It's a good old boys network, and it's like, it's a friendship thing, and sometimes it's a hating thing, and it's whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just like, the awards don't really pay your rent. Going viral doesn't really pay your rent. You know what I mean? It's nice. It's a nice ego stroke. Like, ooh, I got this little trophy. Ooh, I'm trending today. But when I look at my business as a whole, and now we're 14 years of doing business, those moments is not what built the company and what expanded us year after year. I mean, we're talking about 14 years of growth every year. You know what I'm saying? And it's not from little things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to be recognized or whatever, but man, I get recognized just walking around and people telling me like, yo, I love your shit. Like my life changed by some of these interviews. It is what it is, man.
Yo, this is the exact reason why I say in anything, if you work in a corporate job, right? And like you guys are doing good and making money, they're gonna award certain people like in each quarter or maybe each month or at the end of the year saying these people did a fucking phenomenal job. You know, it's not necessarily that you need it, but it's the acknowledgement of the people who are within the same entity or the same business that you are.
Right, but that's your management rewarding you. That's someone you're working for directly. Your competition is not going to reward you. You know what I mean?
Okay, you're right.
If you're working for IBM, Hewlett Packard ain't going to give you a bunch of props. Because that product that you created that killed their whole line. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing.
Yeah, the newspaper ain't going to be like, yo, man, salute to CNN.com, man. You guys really killed this.
You guys killed this year. We had to lay off half our staff. Like, you know what I mean? And listen, at the end of the day, I feel like I've eaten a lot of people's food over the years. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
It was interesting when... And you tell me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. I remember us being on the phone, and you see me, I still look at it, and maybe that's why I think about like accolades, because I'm so obsessed a little bit with like sports a bit. So I like to see, I feel like we're in a league. We're all competing, but we're all like cool. We're not trying to cut each other's throats. We all got our own thing, right? So I like to give it up. I'm like, it motivates me. Like, yo, man, Vlad's killing it. Yo, step it up. You get me? And I remember being on the phone with you, and I'm like, yo, Vlad, do you know that you're like consumption-wise, you are number one now. There was a time, I remember, there was a few years I was like number one in terms of just like, you know, outlets, putting out stuff, and I was just doing so many videos. And I remember I was getting like 30, 40 million. I looked up at the numbers, I was like, Vlad's like doing 60 million a month. He's the number one platform.
More,
and I don't know if...
More than 60 million sometimes.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
70 and 80 sometimes. But yeah, on YouTube, we're the biggest hip-hop type outlet. Now, people are going to say we're not exactly hip-hop because we do so much other shit, but we still have a hip hop base, and in that conversation, we're the biggest entity, aside from World Star. But they're a video, they're a music video aggregator. It's not original content. You know what I mean? So there's a, you know, I don't think you can really compare the two.
It's 3 times the Breakfast Club. It's like multiple times like it's not even close. But I was shocked that you weren't aware of that until I told you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I wasn't really looking at it.
Well, I know you probably knew your own success,
right?
But you didn't know
because I'm competing against myself every year. Like I got a whole spreadsheet that I go through every day and been like, okay, what are these numbers like? Like I'm constantly, you know, like the one thing I learned about stock investing is how every quarter is important and how you compare a particular quarter to the previous year's quarter and then like 5 years back and everything else like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to run my shit the same way. So a lot of times I'm looking at traffic, I'm looking at revenue, I'm looking at different businesses, and I'm seeing what they're doing, and I'm estimating for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to do X amount of dollars this year. I'm going to do X amount of views this year. Okay, this is what I need to change in order to catch up or whatever else. So I'm really competing against Vlad TV. That's my main competition. Vlad TV of 2021 is my main competition. Whatever, you know, Akademiks is doing, or, you know, Breakfast Club is doing, or Genius is doing is cool, and I pay attention to it all, but I'm not competing with you guys.
You know what's funny though? Like I felt like there was a sudden, and I think the pandemic may have like influenced this a bit. There was an uptick in importance of catalog content and just new content from maybe that wasn't current and like, oh, what's the new thing that's being posted on the blogs? And I think that's where you just fucking dominated. Like, you know, even now, so many things come about, and whether it might be like an unfortunate news of someone's passing away, or, you know, the whole thing where, you know, we're talking about before we start filming, like the whole Alpo thing is like, man, you have a whole fucking... There's like a whole docu-series of content that you could go and pretty much just listen to everybody's side. And I think you saw that way before anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I came out of the documentary world. Well, first, as I was launching Vlad TV, I was also working on my first documentary at the same time. It was called Ghost Ride the Whip. It was about the hyphy movement in the Bay, which is where I'm from. And I just saw, okay, like the documentary shit was cool, but I didn't make any money off of it. You know what I mean? Because once you start going through these third-party companies and production houses or whatever, like you don't see nothing off the back end. But I understood the importance of like having a catalog and having you know, evergreen, timeless material that you can go back and reuse and so forth. Like most shit that happens today, I got a flashback for it. You know what I mean? Like, Cardi B talking about, should you get a BBL or your teeth done first? And she's like, you should get a BBL first, because when I got my BBL, that gave me my soul. And I got an interview with her talking about getting illegal butt shots. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's actually talking about what's trending today from 7 years ago.
I got ass shots because, in order to get lipo, where, they put the fat transfer in your ass and your ass get bigger, you need to have fat. And I did not have no type of fat. Like, I'm naturally skinny, and then me stripping, I used to get popping in that pole. You know what I'm saying? So I had super six packs, no fat in my body. I ain't had enough fat to put some in my ass. But I was desperate to have a bigger ass. And then almost every girl was going to this lady that was getting the shots in Queens. And it's like, well, give me her number and hook me up. And it's like, I did what I did. And
you know what the most thing I've been impressed about you with, right? And I feel like almost this is just me giving Vlad his flowers right now, but I love doing it. A lot of the top artists, they've maybe did an interview with you when they were really new, just coming up.
Yeah.
But you're not booking the fucking A-list like, yo, he's so fucking hot, he's gonna do like 300 million views, right? But number one, you still make it work with, okay, great, it'll be flashback content even after you've gotten big. But you've relied on you've made stars in the way of, okay, all right, cool. I'm not going to be on the priority list for A-list talent that's going around doing interviews for their albums. All right, cool. Well, do you guys want to listen to Boosie give his opinion on some shit? We could do it.
Right. And
I feel like you've done that in a really dope way where the majority of people have just chased what's hot. And I think it that's why it's made your business a little bit more stable too, because who cares about what's hot? You have a few repeat guests in. Who cares?
Yeah, we can keep going with just recycling people forever. I mean, technically, I don't, because I find it a bit boring. You know what I mean? I still want to be excited about coming to work.
No, but you have your set of guests who are going to react to certain shit,
exactly.
Right? So there's always going to be current event shit.
It's like pundits.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to CNN, it's the same thing. It's just like a lot of shit that I do had already been around in the mainstream journalism world, the 60 Minutes and everything else like that, like asking tough questions and having people come in and tell their opinion and creating pieces out of thin air in the same way. The hip hop world have always kind of shied away from it. Like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Oh, no, that's, So I came in like, yo, I'm going to do all this shit y'all ain't doing. You know what I mean? Like, to this day, I don't understand why people don't chop up their videos, but they don't. And it's like, I will. I'm not
That's the
going to
Vlad
stop
method,
doing
man.
that.
Vlad going to give you 30 pieces of that Boosie interview,
Might
man.
give you 40 pieces. All right. Well, I actually have a couple things I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So let's get into, this is your first time here. So I want to get into your whole story. You touched on some of it, but I kind of want to do, kind of the big picture. So you were born in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you moved to the U.S. at 10?
Yeah, like 10, 11 I moved in.
10, 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did your parents emigrate over?
So there was always like certain parts of my family that was like here and in the UK. And I had an aunt here and an uncle here. And pretty much what happened is my mom was a school teacher. Dad was a principal. Okay. And my dad and mom went through a divorce. My mom was staying with my dad at, it was like when you're a principal in Jamaica, they pretty much, they give you a house. It's called a cottage or whatever the case is, right? So they break up. My mom is leaving, right? Now, we're really from the country. So we're from the countryside we call it a state here, but it's called a parish there, called Clarendon. So she was thinking, well, I've been living in like a city type area with this guy who's my husband. I got 2 kids with him, and she had another kid as well. Why should I move back she didn't really want to move back to like the countryside to go live back with her mom, which is my grandma. She had an opportunity to come up here and just try to figure it out almost, right? And she said, hey, listen, I'm going to have my 2 kids, which is me and my brother, right? Go live with my grandma and my other half brother who was still living there. We all go live there. She comes over here and she starts working like 3 jobs, trying to like. It's a typical immigrant story. You know, like we didn't even know what's going on.
Jamaican mother, right there.
Like I think she just came over here and just honestly, just like, and again, you know, the story's already written, is just overstayed her visa and it was just like, we're gonna figure it out, you know. And she was working 3 jobs. We thought she was fucking rich because she was like in Jamaica, like living in the countryside. Like your family would send out these big barrels of just supplies. It was like just think about Fortnite, it's like a supply drop. You know what I mean? And like she would send all these things down, and we're like, your mom got to be loaded in America. You know what I mean? We'd also coming at least from that time in Jamaica, hearing the story of America. They didn't even call it America; they call it foreign. Like it was so glamorized. We heard that like, you know, you basically could buy vehicles for nothing. Everything was just fucking amazing. I'm gonna be so honest with you. As a child, right? As a child, the story of what the United States was so glamorizing, and it was so oversold to someone who came from a countryside in Jamaica that before the first time I ever came here, because I came to visit once or twice, then I came and we never went back. I thought when the plane took off from Jamaica, I thought we were gonna land on the fucking clouds. They made it seem like heaven. I kid you not. I'm serious.
No,
so,
I'm a Russian immigrant. I feel you. We were going through the same thing, which is why we moved.
Yeah. So that was the whole thing of, okay, great. So life is just better there. And my mom brought us over, and we would stay with like my aunt, who was a little bit more established. She had a husband at that time. And I guess, you know, she was trying to like have her own life. So it was like, hey, you can't have the sisters and the sisters staying with you while you're trying to have your family. So my mom got a place with like a guy she was like seeing at the time. And when we first came over to like live, because we always went in the summertime when we were off school. We come during the winter time to like, you know, she had just like gotten through some citizenship stuff. Like back then, like, you know, I don't know if it still happened now, and hopefully, you know what I mean? Trump probably fucked it up. But like you find some dude, you know what I mean? Get a little marriage going on real quick. After that, you fake it out. You go to the immigration thing. You answer a bunch of questions. You rehearse it, right? Mm-hmm. And listen, you just kind of finesse it that you can get your citizenship. And then this is how immigrants usually do it. You file for your kids. So if you got kids, you bring your kids with you. And if you can bring other relatives, there's a process of filing for their like, you know, citizenship or green card, whatever. You try to bring as many people you can over here, right? Yeah. So she brought us over here. Now I remember getting off the plane at JFK. And it was sleet. And it was, I've never been here in the wintertime. And it was probably, it just told me that whatever you thought America was, ain't it. Because I remember watching, we only had like 2 stations on our TV in Jamaica, and living where I was living at. And snow looked so beautiful. There's these puffy little things coming down. It looks so fucking beautiful.
Till you actually come in contact with it. It's all fucking.
And when the plane fucking landed, I said, what is this fucking disgusting shit? Now, okay, cool. Get off the plane. I'm like, all right, you got to give this thing a chance. And we pull up to where my mom is now staying with the guy she's seeing. And it's a fucking 2-bedroom apartment in like it's like a quadplex. So we have people living up top, to the left. It's all type of shit going on. And it's 2 bedrooms. And my mom, the guy she's with, my oldest brother, and me and my second brother. So I'm the youngest.
5 people.
5 people.
2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms. And I'm like, I thought this shit was paradise. Now, keep in mind, again, we were never rich in Jamaica. Never rich. But we didn't understand even what poverty was. So maybe it's middle class. And I'll give you an example. Living in the countryside, we probably had like 10, 20 acres. Like we just had a lot of land. We had orange trees. We had cows, pigs, goats, chicken, everything, livestock. You didn't really necessarily need to work. The government would actually pay for like coffee. That's actually a product that you grew. So like you don't really know what necessarily poverty is. Like you could survive off your land. You could kill like, you know, the animals. Like you keep breeding them, kill them. You always got food. We lived in a house that was pretty big. Everybody had their own room. I come to the US, we're tripling up in one bed. I'm like, yo, what's going on? You know what I mean? So again, it was just a story of kind of like quickly realizing like the stories of what you heard that the United States was ain't it. And you got to cut it out. And this whole, you think you've made it because you got there. No, the work just started.
Exactly. Okay. So now you're in the US.
Mm-hmm.
You go to high school in Jersey.
Yes.
Then you go to Rutgers University.
I went to Hackensack High School, then I went to Rutgers University.
So why biomathematics for your major? I mean, I was a computer science major, and that was extremely difficult because of all the math classes I had to take. Linear algebra, calculus.
Did all that, man.
All that shit. But you actually
Like,
go into biomathematics, which I guess is the study of how mathematics coincides with
There you go.
biological situations
Yep.
where you could basically figure out,
I'll give you the real quick story of how that happened. And for anybody who's immigrants, especially all my Africans and all my Caribbeans, I don't know how it's seen here for most people, but something like college is strictly like business.
like a trade.
Yeah. So like your parents, and by the way, to give more context, school is viewed so differently in other countries. So me and my brother growing up in Jamaica, you got grades, but you also got ranked. So it was known. So for example, if it's a class of 30 people, they used to clown the person who was the dumbest, who was the 30th of 30. Because they write it on your report card. You're the 30, you're the worst, you're the slowest nigga in the fucking class.
Right.
Real talk.
You could have an A, but you're still the worst out of everyone else. Yeah.
Exactly. So they compare you against each other. By the way, that's something that doesn't exist in American high schools until you get to college, where they start grading on a curve.
Right. Yeah.
Only when they start grading, maybe some in high schools they do, like some certain classes. But for the most part, they don't really do that. You know what I mean? They're usually like 90s, A, B. So anyway, my mom, teacher, father,
Principal.
I didn't know this. We had no life. All we did was just like bookwork.
Yeah.
As a kid, that was just normal though. We didn't know. I used to believe I was gifted with being smart, not realizing, no, nigga, you just never went outside. All you were doing is schoolwork. So of course you're gonna get fucking A's. Like you've been just like killing shit, right? So I come over to the US and I remember like even going to high school and my mom was just always honest about grades. And it was just basically kind of like an overtone, like, yo, we're sending you to college to become like something esteemed. We want doctors and lawyers. And for any immigrants that's listening to this, you'll know that feeling. The family wants doctors, lawyers, dentists. They don't want no social worker. I'm sorry.
Right. Scientists, computer programmers. Yeah. They don't want you going to school and doing liberal arts and being a philosophy major. That's just a waste of everyone's time.
No, because your mom is going to continually tell you, like, mama, like I've heard the story a million times of my mom tell me, hey, now that I've been slapped with reality of what America is. She's like, when you were in Jamaica and I was sending all them supply drops and barrels to your shit, I was working 3 jobs. I never had a car. I was walking miles to the bus stop. I was actually cleaning. She used to be cleaning the shit of some nigga who was on his deathbed. I had no fucking idea like she was having that hard of a time. So it became, yo, you gotta be something, and that pressure is on. There's no, hey, okay, well, if I don't turn into something, I could. No, keep in mind, we're growing bigger, and now. Imagine a bunch of teenagers who now you're trying to get with girls. Y'all all live in one room. You happen to fuck a chick. Now you upset with your brother. Like, you got to change the sheets, man. Like, this shit smell like pussy. Like, what you be doing in here? You know what I mean? Like, again, it's just so much shit going on. It's small. You can't even move your fucking elbows. So when I get to college, I'm looking at it straight like a business. I go in, I want to be a doctor.
Boom.
I'm like, yo, listen, I feel like my whole life I've excelled, academically. I want to be a doctor. Fuck it. First year, I ain't gonna lie. I fucking party like a motherfucker. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because in high school, no one accepted me. So everybody knows from pretty much elementary school to high school, like you're pretty much, if you're in the same town, it's the same people. I came in around 7th grade. They looked at me and I never fit in. I had to assimilate to American culture. They looked at me as the weird Jamaican kid.
Right, because you still had a Jamaican accent at that point?
Well, not really, but I knew nothing. Like, Jay-Z and Nas is beefing. And I remember everybody having conversations. I'm like, what the fuck going on? I don't know. I'm thinking about Beanie Man and Bounty Killer. You get me?
How come I don't hear a Jamaican accent when you speak?
My oldest...
Can you bring it out? Can I hear the Jamaican academics?
Nigga, I'm talking to me while I'm talking. You see me?
There we go.
You get me? Like, so... But the only reason why that didn't happen, I did a lot of public speaking in Jamaica. So, like, when you do a lot of public speaking and you are able to break out of that young, my oldest brother, he graduated high school already before he came up here. You can't change it. It just, you can't hide it. I could hide it. You get me? So, yeah. I went to college. I'm like, yo, I got to be a doctor. But I was never really accepted in high school because everybody looked at me as a weird Jamaican kid. Everybody was already clicked up. They're like, yo, this guy doesn't understand. Like, I remember being in a fucking like lunchroom or whatever, and they're beating the fucking clips that beat, the grinding beat on the fucking. Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck are these hooligans doing? You know what I mean? Also, I'm just seeing like American culture slapping me crazy because like we wear uniforms in Jamaica. Yeah. Over here, they wildin'. I mean, there's a kid who brought a TV to school who was watching Jerry Springer in the back of the class. All type of shit. Every day I'm going home to my mom like, yo, I don't even think this is school. Like, everybody just tripping out. Anyway, going to college was a fresh start because nobody knew each other. And I got a chance to, like, put my personality out there, right? They didn't look at me as just, oh, this is an immigrant. I was just Livingston, right? My first year didn't do as well. It's the first time in my life I never did well academically. But I was enjoying myself. Second year, I'm like, yo, I got to figure this shit out. I meet with like this counselor and we had to pick because all I took was hard science classes and hard math classes. And I think I failed one of the science classes. It's like organic chemistry. And the only thing that matched was like this major at Rutgers University called biomathematics, and I picked that. And the whole goal was, I'm not leaving this fucking college without a career that will guarantee me $100,000. Right. That's the only thing that my parents will actually be proud of me about. Yeah. If I come out here and I'm a social worker making 40, 50 grand, they're going to look at me and say, why the fuck did you do that?
Yeah, and any degree with the word mathematics in it will get you about $100K.
Yeah. And also you could use it later if you did want to go to like med school or something.
Yeah, med school, if you want to go into computer science, if you want to go into, chemistry, whatever else, like all this, the mathematical basis will help you overall. And I mean, that's how I felt also when I went to college. It's like, yo, I'm not here to fuck around. Like I got my chance to go to Berkeley, and yo, like I'm gonna make this degree count.
Vlad, I'm gonna tell you something, and this might be controversial, but for the people who don't know, you go to any college these days, the people who work the hardest, we're moving white people out of the mix. You see them Africans who are immigrants, they fucking study all night. You see them first generation Indians, all my high level math classes, they're all in.
Oh, yeah, the Asians who don't speak English, they're busting their ass.
Killing
it. Yep, I remember all that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. And other immigrants, they go crazy. Only people who I be see chilling, a lot of the black Americans, they be in there cooling like this is a chill out. And I don't fault them because it's a mentality thing. I've been talking to people about that. It's like, as an immigrant, you feel like you just have to do it. Mm-hmm. You just have to do it. A lot of people go to college to chill, to get girls. And I watched what everybody else did, and I seen the battery that was in my back, and yo, you got to figure this shit out. I wasn't about to leave college until I figured it out. Man, I stayed damn near 6 years. I wasn't about to leave that bitch.
Yeah, I did 4.5.
Man, I was down to stay 10 because it was a great time, but I knew real life because college is a fictional world. It's a very fictional world. I remember being in college when Barack Obama won the presidency, And I didn't really understand because like it felt like the outside world, but we had an interior world that, you know, we only cared about. It's a big campus. We only care about, okay, oh, who's in what frat? Who's this? Like it was very fragmented. So that's only one of the things that I see about college. And as I look at graduation rates, I definitely look to, you know, people who are like you know, who are like African American and born here, and I wish they had that, you know, that fire that I see some of the immigrants have. By the way, some of them do, 100%. But a lot of times I'm like, I don't know, you know, immigrants. There's something about being an immigrant coming over here. It's like you just start going crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an immigrant, first generation, 5 years old. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get it. You know, I mean, I've always wanted to be rich. I've always wanted to, you know, my parents weren't poor. We weren't living in poverty, but.
Were you first generation?
First generation.
No fucking
Born
way.
in the Ukraine. What used to be the USSR. Yeah, came over in 5. Yeah, Russian was my first language.
No way.
Yeah.
Yo, hey, listen, people, and by the way, you know, as I say that, I'm not trying to put down anyone who aren't an immigrant because there's so many other factors that really affects, you know, someone whose ancestors is only tracked to like being here. And, you know, I don't want to make it like that, but me as an immigrant when I came here, I just felt like, yo, this is the only option we have.
Yeah, I think it has to do with family. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember, you know, my ex, she used to tell me her mom was like, well, I just hope you graduate high school. You know, that was her mom's ultimate goal.
Thank you.
That her daughter graduate high school.
Thank you. No. Thank you.
You see what I'm saying? And it's just like, of course I was going to graduate high school. Of course I was going to college. Of course I'm going to, like, to me, it was just assumed in my family structure that like, yo, this is
high school. Like, yo, that's the fucking least.
Yeah, whatever. Like I'm taking AP classes. Like, you know what I mean? Like graduating was just a given. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about expectations and people having low expectations, and they get to college, it's like, oh, I made it to college. I'm done. Now I can party. Like, nah, like you're about to have a lifetime worth of debt if you don't have the right major right now. That's you'll be able to pay that shit back quickly.
No, of
you
course.
see what I'm saying? And then you're gonna be one of the like, oh, college is a scam. Nah, motherfucker, you majored in, you know, European history. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yo,
Vlad, of course you think it's a scam.
Life changed for me once, you know, on breaks in college, people would go back home. It was so uncomfortable. At that point, you got to remember, when I came here, I'm like 10.
Yeah.
Now I'm like 18, man. I don't want to go, like us three can't sleep in the same bed no more. Like, it's not going to work.
Right.
I'm 18, you 23, he is like 32. Like, it's not about to work. Like, we grown men.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got body odors. My brother keep farting. Like, yo, like, niggas ain't showering. Like, come on, what we doing? So what I did, I said, yo, I made the decision. I said, I'm not going back home on the breaks.
Yeah, me too.
I said, I'm gonna figure it out.
Figure it out. Yep.
And I was just determined.
Yep.
And by the way, you know, I always said, lost in that story is that my mom always had a loving home, even if it was, you know, crammed. It was like, no, you could. I'm like, I got to figure this shit out.
No, mine too. I could always go back home.
Yeah.
You know, I can go back home right now if I want. But no, but you don't want to. You don't. Once you go to college and you get that feeling of freedom and autonomy of coming and go as you please, it's like, you know, you don't want to go back home.
I was the first to move out of all my brothers, and I was the youngest.
Nice.
It's just like I couldn't do no more.
Yep.
Like I just couldn't. I'm like, man, I can't see myself like continually getting back in the cycle of coming back to this. And here's the funny thing too. So as we grew older, my mom like broke up with that guy. That guy had moved out, and my mom had a room, and then it was us three in another room. But then my oldest brother, like 30 something now, right? He basically says, listen, hey, I'm down to pay the rent or split the rent or pay some portion of the rent. But I need like a room for myself because now I got chicks.
Move out.
Yeah, be like, I got chicks that's trying to link me. Like, so my mom, and then I think this is 100% the reason why I didn't go back. So my mom made the decision, okay, if you're going to help out on rent, okay, we'll get your two brothers out of your room. That's your room now. So where do we go? It's 2 rooms. My mom, me and my brother and my mom would share rooms, but it would kind of work at first because she would work at the times we slept. And then when we were up and out, she would be there. So we're staying in the same room.
Yeah, it's a mess.
But then later on, she started sleeping on the couch. After that, it was a dub for me. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because like walking into the house and your mom sleeping on the couch, it's like, I don't know what it does for nobody else, but it makes you as a man, it makes you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing other bullshit. Like you getting girls, you wasting your time doing a lot of bullshit and your mom is sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
It's defeating. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go home to force her to leave the room to be like, because now me and my brother, we're both away at school. When we go home, she would give up her room and go sleep on the couch. So I'm like, I'm not even going back.
Okay, so you're going to college. You start getting on the radio, right?
Yeah.
You start DJing.
Yep.
And then that kind of led into late night creeps.
Yeah. So, so all right. So here's the story. Man, we're in college now. Remember, I'm having a good time in college. College is kind of cool. The first time I'm allowed to kind of be myself. I'm figuring out like, a lot of social shit. This is good. However, there's one main thing that's not happening. And it's just part of like a dude's college experience. Got to happen. Got to get the chicks. None of us are athletes. We ain't got nobody too tall. We ain't got nobody too talented in anything. And at first, nobody is in frats. Like, if you go to a college that's a little bit urban, there's D9 frats, they getting all the chicks. The football players, I don't care. It could be the linemen. I remember there was this lineman dude had to be like 400 pounds. He was surrounded with chicks. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I gotta get on the football team. I'm too short. I'm like 5'9". Like, can't do shit. Like, what the fuck? How the fuck we gonna get this? So really, the interesting thing about college is that it's a different social structure. It's not that dependent on money. It's dependent on almost status, right? And I'm like, damn, okay, we can't join the sports team. Well, we could try to get in a frat. And it was almost luck a bit. All the frats got suspended because they do some shit called hazing.
Yeah.
And like there was a female who basically just like snitched. Was like, yo, these motherfuckers beat my ass. And there was an investigation, made the news. And the whole, every frat was just like, they were just acting like they weren't a frat no more, right? Because you don't get caught. It's like, if the cops show up on the block where niggas selling drugs, everybody just keep walking away like, right? So the frats used to throw the parties. Nobody's throwing parties. So me and my homies was like, man, everybody wants to party, but there's nobody throwing parties. Now at this time I'm producing. I remember I was in contact even when Cameron had a group like UN. And I remember I used to be like sending beats to like one of his guys like Tom Gist or whatever.
I started producing also. When I was in college, that's actually sort of my first hip hop foray, was making beats and producing and everything else like that. At one point, I realized I wasn't that great at it, and I just stopped.
Yo, I'm trying
to
to be like
that led me into DJing.
I'm trying to be the bootleg Kanye West Just Blaze.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that, but I sucked at networking. Right? I lived in this big building. There was rappers all throughout it, but I wouldn't really go talk to everybody because like now I'm like making beats. Like I got a whole little different life. I'm still not that outgoing, right? So I'm trying to sell it online. Then my homies are like, yo, we got to start throwing parties, yo. Everybody want to party. They're like, yo, shit, how can we do this? They're like, yo, first of all, we need a DJ. They're like, yo, you be fucking around with this, like, because I had like virtual DJ looping soul samples. Mm-hmm. Like, of course I could DJ.
Yeah.
I ain't really know how to DJ, but I'm like, of course I could do it, right? And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll be the DJ. Everybody in my respective crew, everybody just took like a fucking little tagline, like, all right, cool, well, the guy who always just shot his shot at every girl he saw, he's the promoter. My guy who just always had liquor with him, he's the bartender. We treat this shit like a club. So we started throwing like parties and shit like that. And that's when we kind of like started gaining like a little bit of traction because like all the freshmen and the sophomores, it was like, yo, we needed something to do and these guys are giving it. Now this has helped building my name. I'm like doing like these events, like people are like calling me for shit. And really the late night creeps thing was, there was a guy who was popping named 40 Ounce Van at the time.
I remember.
Like he used to just post bad bitches. Yo, he used to get so much engagement and traction, But all he did was post bad bitches. And everybody would be like, yo, where are these women? Like, social media wasn't that prevalent. And I was like, yo, fuck. I should do some shit like that. So I kind of try to do like a bootleg version of that. But like, I don't even think it really caught on. But I think the name was very, like, it was pretty good, like Late Night Creeps. Then I tried to turn it into a gossip site, which something else became a little popular on campus. It was like, you could give anonymously like a story of some shit that happened like the last time. Like, yo, I saw so-and-so creeping this last night into blah, blah, dorm.
Late Night Creeps. Was
exactly, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm doing anything, Vlad. I'm doing anything. I'm trying to get this shit popping, right? So now, all right, cool. I'm DJing. I'm whatever. We're getting some chicks. Cool. I'm still looking. I'm like, yo, what's the fucking next level? It can't be just partying. And I'm like, bro, I got to take what we got here because we had like a whole thing. Like, it just felt like a whole formula. I'm like, you got to take this and bring it to the world. How do I do it? I got on college radio. Didn't last too long, but I got on there. And I went on there and you know, obviously I'm influenced by the stars, Wendy Williams, Charlemagne's of the world, and just the super jocks. You know, these are people who are just very brash in their opinions. Like, they would just ask the obvious questions, and I would just invite up people. Like, I was like exposing people who had sides. I was doing all type of shit on there, right? They kicked me off pretty quickly. That's nothing what they had in mind, okay? Actually, they used to say, play more music, speak less, right? And that was the motto for the whole station. And I used to come on that shit. I'm like, I play one song, and I'm like, I'm talking for the rest of this bitch. They couldn't really have a reason to kick me off because people were tuned in. Then I did some shit where Big Sean had a song called Dance. Or the song, Ass.
Yeah.
Now, I was a DJ, so I had like 15 versions of the song. There's a squeaky clean version. There's a radio version. There's like the radio, but not too clean version. There's the dirty version. There's mad versions. I used to get it from like a DJ pool site. I play one of those songs while I like walk out to the bathroom or to go get a guest or something like that. And the song goes over the radio. This is college radio. It's like ass. Now, keep in mind, it was not a hip hop station. So it's really supposed to be a rock station, but it's a student station, so you can't stop anyone from being on there.
Yeah.
The program director used to listen to my show at the odd hour it was at, and they called me in for a meeting. They were like, yo, the word ass technically isn't against FCC rules, but if you have a fucking solid minute of something just saying ass, kick me the fuck off of there. You get me? Here's what happened in that time, though. In the last few months of me being on that station, I was always thinking about audience. And I was like, we'd have these meetings and they never really told me. They were like, your show's popular. I'm like, how many people? They never really told me. I'm like, what the fuck? So what I started doing, I took my show and I started putting it on YouTube. I would just throw everything on YouTube. By the time they kicked me off, whatever I put on YouTube already was like, it would get like 1,000 or 2,000 people like watching it, right? So we get 2,000 views. Already I'm thinking like, I don't know how much I'm getting at the station, but shoot, I'm getting some shit online. So for the next year, 2 years, I pretended to still be at the station while being in my closet recording the shit.
Wow.
Because I didn't understand with YouTube, you could just talk to the people who are reacting to you.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, basically.
Yeah. So you got to remember, like, I'm watching how the Breakfast Club clips make it on YouTube, and they're not saying, hey, so to the guy who's a top commenter or, yo, comments, they don't even talk about comments. They act like they don't exist. They're like, hey, call her. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, hey, if you guys are listening to this, blah, blah. So I started doing that for a while. And after a while, it dawned on me, I'm like, I think they kind of know, or I don't think they care. And I just started just talking to them. I'm like, yo, listen, hey, yo, for my next video or whatever, I want to do this. Just react in the comment section. And that moment was the most powerful moment in probably my whole entire, just like career. Because I realized when you're on radio, you're talking, hopefully somebody hears, you'll know who interacts.
Yeah.
When I talked to the person who was going to comment and I uploaded it, it was an actual direct connection.
Yeah.
After then, I never acted like I was on radio no more.
Okay. So that was sort of your first foray into YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So Did the war in Chirac YouTube channel come by after that?
So
This was like 2014, maybe?
yeah. So this is like 2011, 2012, right? I'm building up. I'm giving album reviews, right? 2013, I do an album review of Yeezus. You know, I just felt like, you know, there's a lot of like, only a select few radio personalities would just tell the truth, and I felt like people just wanted to hear the truth. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm like, this album's fucking trash. I'm gonna get on the camera and I'm gonna just tell you how trash it was. And I just remember I was in my closet just like going in on this album. And I also talked about like state of New York hip hop, but they were like longer clips. What I realized quickly, the attention span of the people tuning into me was young. They were younger.
Yeah.
They didn't want to hear 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They wanted 5 to 8, maybe 9.
Yep.
You got to keep it short, keep it sweet.
Yeah. People wonder why I chop up my clips to that amount. It's exactly what you just said.
They were not like, you got to realize it. I became, and remember, now I'm armed with the tools of me being a math major. I'm studying it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, wait, 1,000 people tuned in, and I only had 300 after the first like 30 seconds. What the fuck am I doing wrong? You know what I was doing? A lot of these YouTubers still doing that. Doing all like, you're saying too much. They clicked for the title, not for you to say, hey, drop a sub, hey, hit the notification, hey, do this, hey. So you know what I started doing? I started treating that 30 seconds before I could lose that 1,000. That's what you'd be like, I would just rush my intro. Fuck the intro. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
You clicked here for motherfucking me talking about this rapper just got his chain took or this guy just got this. I'm going to get to it like in the first 5 seconds. That's it. So I'm doing that. I'm doing album reviews, whatever. It's growing a bit. And I'll tell you how the war in Chirac started. Because just like how you kind of said, like you had spreadsheets and shit like that, I started looking at what I was doing as I am the quickest outlet to cover hip hop. And my advantage came like this. If someone, I don't know, say someone fell off stage, the Breakfast Club's going to talk about it tomorrow. But we're in this internet era where people kind of want to see the clip. They want someone else's opinion. I started doing it today. So if it happened today, within 2 hours, I'm already talking about it. So by the time the Breakfast Club talked about it, I've been talking about it. I beat them to the punch, quicker, more efficient. I was on it every day. I was just sitting around. I lost a lot of friends. I lost shit. I think I gained weight. I was just sitting in my apartment just like, yo, what's going to happen to hip hop? And my mic's there. I'm just following hip hop. I'm following everything. Something happened. Within 2 hours, clip. Fastest thing possible, right? So now I start looking at what I got going on, like the newspaper. I'm like, oh, I'm covering these guys like the Kanyes and the Drakes. Mm-hmm. And Chief Keef comes out. So Chief Keef made some song and I covered it. I'm like, yo, this shit's fire. I love Keef. This is great. And remember now, I'm talking to the audience. I'm like, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And about half the people in the comment section was like, man, if you want to tell a story, tell it right. What about Lil J? Who the fuck is Lil J? I didn't know. Okay? I didn't know who that was. But that's what the person said. Like, you got to speak about this whole thing. So I started doing my research. I'm looking, I'm like, oh shit, there's like a whole thing going on here. And I'm looking, I'm like, but nobody cares about this though. And every time I would do a video on Lil Durk, Lil Reese, or Chief Keef, and also Fredo Santana, they'd be like, yo, you gotta cover the whole thing. So I said this, and again, now I'm so in tune with the audience. I'm like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do. You guys want me to cover dudes who, if I cover, you guys might know who this is, but the rest of my audience don't. I'm gonna create a separate page. And it's gonna be like, imagine the newspaper. So you have front page news, and then you have like, you might have like a little fold up in it where it's
variety section.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna do that shit. And I say, you guys support it if you're really into it. So I created the War in Chirac. Mm-hmm. And when I created that shit, I was trying to figure out how do I cover hip hop in this realm, because a lot of the things I didn't like, I was mortified by. And I said, the only appropriate way is I did it with satire. And for me, the hope was to make people see how ridiculous this was. Because at that time, you know, obviously to a bunch of people who lived in the suburbs who were watching me, there was common shit like, oh yeah, we smoking on so-and-so today. And I'm like, damn, that's someone that died.
Yeah.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
It was just like so common. So I'm like, how do I make people understand, like, you know, especially when you start covering certain shit as journalists, like I'm seeing videos and pictures of shit. I'm like, yo, this is gory. But these motherfuckers is talking about it like it's a video game. So I have to put a spin on this to make it just seem retarded. It's kind of like the Boondocks. Like, what Boondocks did for gangster rap is pure satire.
Oh, yeah.
It just showed you how stupid it is. It still jokes about it, right? What the Boondocks did about people's fear or even the taboo of like the gay rapper, you know what I mean? And then played off homies over hoe. Satire.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do some shit.
Even though it came true years later.
It is. So I'm trying to do some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I start doing it. And you know what the funny thing is? Everything I thought that people would be like, yo, this is some sick shit, they loved. I started giving these niggas nicknames. But it wasn't nicknames like, yo, I was giving them nicknames like, yo, these dudes are evil. Everybody was like, no, these names are fucking cool.
The Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Right? Lil Reese, which he ended up naming a mixtape after. Something like that, yeah.
Exactly. By the way, at this point, I've never talked to a rapper. So no, like, I'm giving commentary on them. No rapper's ever communicated with me. I've never communicated. I am as real and as raw as could be. I'm a fan.
No politics, no personal relationships,
I never even thought
no
they saw
angry phone calls, nothing. Yeah.
And so I'm doing that. And this is 2013, 2014. And I just noticed every day is just getting bigger. The numbers are just rising. People are starting to just pay attention to like the Chicago stuff. And also they're paying attention because I'm still covering the mainstream hip hop on my other page. By the way, me covering the Chicago stuff was never bigger than what I was covering on my main page. Like it's always had less than half the subscribers on my main page. But the story was never as compelling as the war in Chirac. Because it felt like an ongoing saga. And pretty much around like 2014, 2015, what really I think broke me was the Meek Mill versus Drake beef.
Okay.
I was the de facto number one person on Twitter that everybody listened to for, and this was true to like my nature and how I like to cover stuff. If Drake had a slick line like, yo, I was playing my music above you, blah, 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 like, I'm going to get that reference. It's kind of what Genius does. But I would, like, kind of explain it because a lot of stuff would go over people's heads and fans just wanted more info. So everyone would just come to me, and I hit 1 million followers then. Now, the war in Chicago stuff, like, it's just getting out of control. It's getting out of control. Like, every day I'm still trying to do, like, at least 3 videos, and everyone's like, yo, what's up with a Chicago video? What's up with a War in Chirac video? And I'm like, I'm trying to balance all of this, but also like, I just don't know where this thing is going. At this point, like Chief Keef's out of Chicago.
Yeah.
You get me?
Never comes back.
But the violence is fucking just still mounting.
No.
And the rappers start reacting to me. The rappers, I forgot who did it first. It might have been Lil Reese, but they named one of their projects the same name I called them in the video. And I'm like, And then one of them said something about me. And I'm like, oh shit, the rappers actually watch what's going on.
Yeah.
But that entire time, man, with the war in Chirac, as I said, I really started it to be a subsection of a newspaper that I had going on. And the mystique behind it now has become so defining that people think that that's the actual product. That's the main product that was being sold.
Right. You've shut that down.
Yeah,
since then. Right.
I stopped doing it.
Yeah. And I think you got on my radar maybe 2015, 2016. I think that's when I first reached out.
Yeah.
Because then in 2017, you got Everyday Struggle on Complex. me and Complex had a long relationship from like 2009 or 8 when I first launched. So when I saw you get on that show, we had already been fucking with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, congratulations. I was happy for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was you, Joe Budden, and Nadeska, right? I'd heard my name came up as they were like going through possible guests, but you know, Joe shut that down obviously, which is fine because I would have done it anyways with Joe. So, anyways, you guys got that show, and I felt like it was a hit because there really wasn't anything like it in the hip hop space, really before or after. To be totally honest, it was a very unique kind of concept. You were popping, Joe was popping, Nadeska was new, but she was the kind of the female voice. And a lot of times
she's definitely seasoned. Like she's worked at she's as seasoned as you could be as a journalist. Yeah. Maybe a lot of people didn't know her name.
In the industry, but she was not out there putting her name out there, having her own big you know, thing like me, you, who, you know, Joe, whatever else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was, you know, and I'd been working with Complex. I just wasn't familiar with her name before, but it worked well with the three of y'all. And then with that came a whole bunch of interesting kind of situations.
That show was the best show, Vlad.
It was a great show.
It was the best show, man.
It was a great show.
Let me tell you this. It was what hip hop needed, and it's sad that it didn't become the quintessential, just, you know, platform and voice going into the future. I'm not saying to replace the Breakfast Club, but that's what, if you look at 2022 or 2021 hip hop, right? Last year's hip hop. We're seeing the likes of Nas put out great fucking music. Nas is 48. We're seeing a lot of young artists put out great music. And a lot of times, like, you know, the age gap of hip hop it has been stretched. Yeah. But where people fall on that spectrum of either being able to say, hey, I could listen to a 22-year-old young boy put out music every week, but also I love when Nas put out hip hop.
Or Jay-Z's new album.
Or Jay-Z's
2 Chainz new project, who's also older in his 40s. Yeah.
It's you rarely find that person. People just hip hop, they age you out of shit. There's a lot of ageism that goes on.
100%.
What that show did, it brought the conversation into one place. And that's why it was great. Because for me, I was into the Uzis. I loved X. I'm like into a lot of these new guys who have been changing the sound of hip hop and gaining a lot of audience like through their SoundCloud and Instagram. And Joe was just looking at it like, man, that shit is kind of, it's challenging the traditional view of what hip hop has been. But it wasn't about what we both thought. It was about the dialogue. It was that essentially, regardless if it's Nas or Youngboy, they both exist in hip hop. And that discourse, especially when you have 2 talented motherfuckers and 2 opinionated motherfuckers, it was gonna go back and forth, and that shit was gonna be fucking golden.
Yeah, no, it worked. It worked. The way the set was set up, you know, it was very professional. It was high end. You guys had Complex behind you, and you and Joe both had a serious following, so it kind of worked. Now, in the process of doing that show, a couple of speed bumps along the way.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about the whole war in Chirac thing. Vic Mensa was a guest.
Yeah.
And I guess he called you a bitch and said that someone should slap you or some shit like that.
Yeah. So to really even go back to that time, right?
And it was over the War in Chirac YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I'll give you the whole thing, right? So, you know, and God bless Complex. You know, I still love him to this day, and when we still work together, you know, just send me a Christmas gift.
Yeah, they're part of BuzzFeed, by the way, bud.
Yeah,
did you know that?
This guy bought salute to them. Yeah,
BuzzFeed, crazy. So they're a public company now, technically.
Yeah, they had a little reshuffling. So what happened was, you know, Complex was very new to the video space. When we got there, when me and Joe got there, I remember even the first time I was having a conversation with them in the office, there was like 400 people in cubicles. They had 2 different floors.
Yep.
And the majority were writers.
Yep.
When they hired me and Joe, I remember like a week after when we went in, we saw a bunch of like shit like computers almost like yellow taped off. We're like, what happened? They're like, oh, all them motherfuckers we fired. What?
Yeah, they're moving to video.
They moved from print to video. And for them, they didn't understand fully what being a video production company that's in media meant, especially if there's a hip hop element.
Especially on YouTube, which the monetization is very different than like doing a project for Netflix or whatever else.
100%.
It's like, you know what I mean? Because from what I understand from people I've spoken to, although Everyday Struggle was a very popular show, financially it was not making a ton of money. You know what I mean? After
They couldn't sell it.
Yeah, after everyone got paid,
They couldn't sell it.
you know, they didn't really get a lot of sponsorships, and the YouTube monetization won't pay for itself considering the production value and the talent. So yeah, I mean, I can understand what was happening behind the scenes.
They couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by I couldn't sell it, like, there was no ads.
Exactly.
If you're gonna have a show like that,
You need a sponsorship. You need like a
like
sponsor.
shit, I have a cup in my hand. If I'm on the show, motherfucker, I don't care if sponsored by anybody. Just get the fucking check.
Yeah.
You got me and Joe Budden. We're every day it was a roller coaster. Yeah. By the way, granted, it's also balancing egos, it's balancing personalities, but they were learning. So I'll get to the Vic Mensa thing because it boils down to that. BT says, hey, come on out to the award show. Now, they normally send people to the award show. They send their pundits, hey, go do a little news thing and just be like, interview whoever's on the carpet. They're like, nah, Everyday Struggle should go out there. They cancel their news people who are going to go. They assign credentials to me and Joe and Adeska, right? And we were going to go. We're like, hey, let's not just go for one day. Let's fucking go out for a week. Let's go out there and let's source talent that probably haven't made it to New York yet. We'll just go get people out there and just talk to them. So talent department comes with a bunch of people. Hey, are you down with talking to these people, blah, blah. We say yes, we had a voting system. Shit, Vic Mensa, I remember saying, oh, fuck, he's from Chicago. Yes, let's do it. So one of the people, let's fucking do it. Okay, now here's the thing that's where Complex fucked up. Because Complex is not realizing why we're popping. We're popping because Joe is mad outspoken. He's outspoken to the point that some people feel is disrespect. Me too. For example, I'm outspoken to the point the Wale's of the world feel like, yo, this disrespectful motherfucker. The Yachty's of the world thinking about Joe, this disrespectful motherfucker. We have basically put some shit in the ecosphere that motherfuckers can't wait to see us. Complex, no fucking idea. They're thinking, oh, y'all can't wait to see us. Oh, it's gonna be a great interview. No, this is hip hop, Vlad.
Oh yeah.
So
I know all about that.
we show up. I think it was they had like a movie review like portion of their company that had some studios in like Burbank or whatever. We are gonna use those studios to record Everyday Struggle for every day up until the award show. One of the guests is Vic Mensa. Show up there. By the way, no security. No one's thinking about security. Security is the last thing on our mind. Well, no, not on our mind. On Complex's mind.
Yeah.
Because you know what they're saying? Nobody seems like they want to kill you.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone loves these guys.
We see the numbers. Everyone loves them. Okay, great. And also they're thinking, well, if someone didn't like them, they wouldn't vote yes or whatever. I had no idea Vic Mensa had a problem. Okay, we show up to the interview. Okay, we're at the spot. They say Vic Mensa is here. Okay, cool. Vic Mensa comes up. I say, what up to him? He said, yo, what's up? I said, where's the bathroom? I walk him to the bathroom. Cordial. Cordial. When Vic Mensa comes out the bathroom, my brother, I don't know if he took Visine or what he did. He didn't blink for the next 2 hours. I don't know what you're, Vlad. I gotta keep it up. Vlad, you tell me what it is. He didn't blink for 2 hours straight. And his eyes wasn't like this. His eyes was like this. Like, I don't know what it is. Yo, Vlad, stop playing. I'm serious.
Okay. Nah, I feel you.
So he comes down and I'm like, all right, maybe just splash some fucking water on his fucking face. I don't know what's going on. All right, cool. Comes in. All right, cool. We had a system. This was a system. You know, it's me, the desk, and Joe. Because there were guests that were more familiar with Joe, Joe would have that guest sit closer to Joe. Because when there were guests that I was more familiar with, that guest would sit closer to me. So you know what? I said, sit him here. He's supposed to sit next to me because I know a lot about Chicago, whatever. I got the questions. Okay, he sits down. Conversation's a little weird. And I always do this because, like, you know, I always hit the elephant in the room question. All right, anyway, so I don't know if you know, but I did cover Chicago. What did you think about blah, blah with Chicago? And, you know, his eyes was like this the whole time, like. And when I asked it, like, looked over, and he said, you know, I always wanted to slap the shit out of you. I'm going to be honest. I was flustered. And flustered because I know people think that being on YouTube and creating content, you're a professional. I've never been on an actual production set till Everyday Show. Never. I remember being on it with Joe and I could tell, his years of love in hip hop was just like shining through the fucking, you can see it. Mm-hmm. We have multiple cameras. There was a light on whatever camera was activated at the time. Like he would talk to it. He would just, he's like a fucking magician. He's working the cameras. Me, I got notes right here. I'm like, let me just get my points off and however y'all capture is how you capture it. The nigga's like a magician. Like he would just fucking work the cameras. That's why it looked so great. He knew what would work on camera. So all that shit, like he's climbing over the desk, I'm not gonna lie, he helped me. Because I thought entertainment was just speaking. No, it's a lot more to it. I remember like me and Joe would be kicking in the green room and then we're mad calm, this and third. Shit, we'll even agree on certain topics. We get on set, the motherfucker switches up and is on 10. I'm like, what the fuck? Yep. But you know what he knew? Enter-fucking-tainment.
Yep.
So, that's all that to say, going back to the Vic Mensa shit. When Vic Mensa does that, I don't know what to do in terms of I've only known how to be professional. So all that shit, even where Joe walks off with the Migos, I would never even did. No matter what someone says, I would never walked off, ever.
Yeah.
I have a job, and my job is to whatever, get the content, just stay here and whatever. Even if somebody was like, yeah, bro, I'm gonna shoot you right now, I'd be like, though, why would you think you would want to do that? That was my thought. Keep the content going. Don't do anything that's gonna stop the content. So when he said that to me, he said, yo, so you know you're a bitch, I should slap you. I said, what you mean? In what sense? By the way, the internet killed me for that. I learned now, at certain signs, fuck the cameras. I learned that now. But before, I was all like, it's your first job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine it's your first day at motherfucking Wendy's and somebody says some wild shit in the drive-thru. You're not like, say, yo, nigga, suck my dick. What you really want to do? You're not going to say that. You're going to be on some shit like, so do you want fries with that or not? Like, yo.
So you had to just sit there. Well, you decided to just sit there and basically.
Yeah. Now.
But he didn't actually slap you, though. He just said, I should slap you. Which to me is what a weird-ass statement.
Yeah,
like,
and was it a little tense? Yeah, but nothing happened. The interview ended. He left. There was no confrontation. There was no nothing. But I realized, and this is one thing I'm learning on the job again, how the internet took it. The internet took it like, look at what happened. So, by the way, I don't regret doing that. Like, again,
yeah, it is what it is.
I wanted to get content. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think that content was saying, all right, what's up? We can stop the cameras right now. What are we gonna do? I didn't think that was content. I think content was like, yo, get him to verbally tell you what his issues is, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. So that happens. And that was pretty much it. He left. And we did a few more interviews, which we then also realized, by the way, our whole production staff was me and Joe were the only men other than Vic Mensa, like his one guy. And I think at that point, Complex was like, oh shit, we didn't know that this was going to come. Let's get security.
Right.
And the security guard they hired had to be a guy from the bodega. The dude showed up with a ketchup stain on the shirt. The security filmed more than the cameraman. Like, we're walking to the red carpet. The security's like, yo, look at us. We kicking it here. Yo, this shit's crazy. We had the BET Awards. The whole time we're looking like, now they've instructed the security like, yo, take care of Akademiks. Because it looks like this motherfucker might have so many enemies, we don't know who might jump out the blue, right? This dude, he's on a different type of time. He's like, just, yo, what up? We here. He's vlogging. Dude's like he's like one of these vloggers. Like, yo, we here. All right. We'll get these guys through here. I'll be back. Okay, cool. We're there. Now we're at the BT Awards. And now is when the Migos thing happened.
Right.
Which we're sitting there, and Joe is such an interesting person because we were doing a hip hop show. And this is why, like, he got frustrated. But I got frustrated too. I just didn't show it. Remember, Joe did Love and Hip Hop. Drea comes, and Joe acted like it was Drake. It's like, yo, Drea, what's up? What's up? We're talking to her maybe about her diet and stretching regimen for like the next 10 minutes, bro. Like, all type of like shit that I'm like, I have no fucking questions for her. Like, I'm here for hip hop stuff. But he's talking to her about, oh my God, you're glowing. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here, right? But cool, I let it happen, right? The Migos, no, first of all, Yachty walks past. Now, me and Yachty are cool. We played video games on Twitch, all that type of stuff. I see Yachty, I'm like, Yachty! Yachty looks at me, and he almost kind of looks down and was kind of shrugs it off. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, wait, don't tell me this is that Hollywood shit. We played games together before. Now you see me on the red carpet, you just whatever. But I didn't realize he was letting me know the energy ain't, oh, it's not with you, with y'all. You're up there with the show because we're on like this little platform. The Migos pull up. I'm like, oh, fuck, yes. You know how long we've been trying to get the Migos in the studio? We've been talking about them the whole time. We're talking about QC, talking about Yachty. Great. They come up, and I'm like dapping them up. Yo, what's up with y'all? Offset. Yo, take off. I'm dapping them up. I'm like, oh, man, this is great. They all look at Joe, and he reaches out for his hand, and they look at it like it. They all look at him like this. I think he daps himself up like, okay then. So none of them dap him up, and I'm like, okay. 2 minutes into the interview, P walks in. No, actually, before it started, the interview was kind of started. He walks on set and like grabs Joe by here and like giving him like an aggressive massage, like, remember that convo we had, right? And I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? Now, that was actually, he was trying to remind him that, this sounds so random. The day before we had the award show, Joe went to like some fucking store in the mall to get socks. You know what I mean? And he goes to get socks, and in the socks aisle is the Migos people. So QC is in the socks aisle, and they're probably saying, no fucking way. The guy who, because Joe's rhetoric at the time, whenever he was talking about trash rappers, he would use it interchangeable with Yachty. When they were talking about, so they're looking like, in no way Joe Budden, the guy who'd been talking trash about our artists, is right here. So I guess they had a conversation with him. I don't think it was too crazy, but it was just like, yo, like, we don't like it. What are you doing? And I think he was just saying, hey, listen, I don't know too many of these new rappers. I don't mean to use them as the de facto rapper for trash rapper. I just kind of switch them out. It's not malicious, right? They basically said, listen, well, we don't like it. Could you stop? And he's like, well, if that's the only issue, like, I'm still gonna have my opinion, but fine. I'm gonna make sure I cognizantly don't make it seem like Yachty's just a trash rapper when I'm just trying to use those terms of colloquials. So that's what P came on set to be like, yo, remember that conversation now? So already I'm like, Joe had lightly mentioned it. I'm like, what the fuck? Why was this happening? Cool. We're doing an interview now. Man, I got a million questions for them. Yo, come on, man. It's Bad and Bougie. Come on, it's
the biggest song at the time.
Come on,
Takeoff's
man.
not on it.
Yeah, and you know, again with Complex and New to Video, we don't have in-ears. If you've ever been on a red carpet, it's super loud. everybody just has their own little booth, but everybody's shouting. So you need mics to pick up sound. But to hear what somebody's saying, especially if I'm here and the other person's about like 7 feet away, you're gonna need. So I asked him, I said, Takeoff, how do you feel about you not being on the biggest song, Bad and Bougie? And the funny part about it, every time he would answer me, it looked like he was about to shout. Like he would be like, and then he would just whisper. So that's what I'm like, nigga, wait, what? So this was super organic. Anyway, that happens. Joe as well is like, I could tell he doesn't like the energy. So if you look how he's sitting the whole time, his back is facing me in the desk and he's facing them. And if you've ever been in any type of, tense situation, you never want to turn your back on somebody who you think might have some issues with you. So he's facing them the whole time like this. Now, after like 5 minutes, Joe is done with them because he kind of feel like they're playing the too cool for school. He's not feeling the energy. He don't really want to be there. And he says, yo, just wrap this up, right? Also, to give him some credit, there was a producer there who was giving the wrap-up sign, but I'm not even paying attention to her. Like, I'm getting my questions off. She's saying wrap it up. I'm focused on them. Joe, who's already like watching everything, sees the wrap-up sign, and he's just watching these niggas and looking at me like, bro, you gon'... Then he says, yo, bro, wrap this up. My wrap-up was asking an additional question, which was going to lead to the wrap-up. Joe couldn't even wait. He says, fuck this shit. Gets up, throws the mic, walks the fuck off.
Yeah, and then a fight almost breaks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think his name is Rel Money. This motherfucker, the whole Migos entourage just formed like Voltron. There's a slow motion version of this shit where P looks through, like, he basically looks like he just snaps his head around like, what? Didn't we just talk to this motherfucker? Everybody else is like, and then they basically just start jumping out of the woodworks like wild hyenas. You get me? Now, the Migos stand up, Joe walks off. By the way, nobody touched Joe. But it was tense because they were approaching him. I thought one of the Migos was going to swing. Now, there's also a clip, and it looks like I'm a little bit nervous, right? And, I mean, yeah, because, like, I'm talking to the guys who I like the most, and they're about to beat my co-host's ass. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, can't we just finish this interview? And it was just too long already. But regardless, cooler heads prevailed. There was so many people saying different things about what happened. Like, I remember moving in the middle of Joe and the Migos because I knew they had no problem with me because all I did was show them love. And I was there like, hey, don't do anything. And honestly, there was police there, so it wouldn't have gotten too far. But P made sure there was, no physicality, which was dope.
Well, by the end of 2017, Joe quits the Everyday Struggle.
Mm-hmm.
The show gets relaunched with Star.
Yeah.
Doesn't work out.
Yeah. It was short-lived.
Yep. Then it gets relaunched again with Wayno.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the show ends up shutting down.
Yeah, so we actually lasted, which a lot of people don't give credit for, right? What people don't realize also about that is that, so Joe quits, and I always said this, like Joe quit 9 months after we started. We started in March. He quit in December. He's done. They come back, we're with Star, right? We come back maybe February or April, whatever the case is. We're with Star. We're doing all type of auditions to find the replacement. We come back with Star. That wasn't the best fit. And then we find Wayno. Now, this is 2018. The show actually, I believe we ended at the end of 2020.
Yeah.
End of 20. So honestly, we went from 20, I did 2+ years with Wayno. So it wasn't like as soon as Joe got off, it just ended. But, people remember the year, the time that Joe was on.
Well, I mean, the show ends, but really, you've been a strong personality the whole time.
Yeah.
On or off, everyday struggle, you're still continuing to grow, and you're still doing your thing, and your numbers are going up, and your overall visibility is going up. And over the years, you get into some interesting kind of beefs with various people.
They get a beef with me, but
Yeah,
we gotta keep the narrative right, man.
Right. You're right. They get into beef with you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the oddest was Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
When she actually, goes into your DMs, she said, "You've been mad since I made a joke about you with Joe on my show. The people you rep won't stop your jaw from being broke. I know too much about your family for you to be playing with me. You hoe-ass rat. Where you at now?"
Y'all forgot about
She
it.
said, "Send your number. My husband wants to talk to you. If I were you, I'd send your number because you're going to make it worse."
Yo.
So odd to hear a female talk this gangster shit. It's just like, I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of cowardly. Oh, I'm going to get so-and-so to come beat you up. You know what I mean? Like for example, I heard, because remember I broke the story about Quentin Miller getting jumped by Meek Mill's people.
Yeah.
I'd heard that Nicki was the instigator and all that. I heard that they were in the car together, and then they're like, "Oh, that's that motherfucker," and she was pushing me. "Yeah, go ahead, get that motherfucker fucked
heard
up."
that too.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me say this. You know why Nicki's good, and actually I would say great, is her audience, and she has the best audience in hip hop than Barb's. Oh my God, they love it.
Oh yeah, I've got attacked by him every so often.
They would never believe anything, and Nicki does a good job of not making it apparent. It's not like, again, you heard it, you didn't see it.
Yeah.
So when you say it, her audience is gonna take that, oh, you're just hating on the queen.
Right.
But I heard the same thing.
Yeah. And the DMs are the DMs. Now, her fans might be like, "Oh, you just altered those. You just photoshopped those." She never said anything like that. But I believe you. She said it.
No, yeah, they said I photoshopped that too.
I mean, I would assume that.
They said I literally photoshopped. I'm like, yo, why the fuck would I do it? They're like, oh, you just want attention from the queen. But I get to realize her fan base is so solid that they have this perception of her. And if anything, if she's not the victim, no one believes it. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I want a fan base like that because that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it almost reminds me like the Michael Jackson fan base. It'd be like, whenever we talk about how the kids aren't biologically his, they'll come in, "Oh, look at all these people who have mixed parents and white-looking kids. Those are definitely his children." It's like, okay, reality just does not seem to come into a super fan's psyche. You know what I mean? And her fans are like that.
So obviously, Michael Jackson had more fans, but I don't know if they're as crazy as Nicki fans, man. Maybe a little bit because I think they really think that Michael ain't do nothing wrong. You know what I mean? He was sleeping all these kids, but nah, he was just showing up Neverland, right?
He would tuck in his wings, when he put on his suit and everything, right? But Nicki fans are interesting. They're crazy, and you kind of have this interesting because she doesn't really have male fans. I mean,
she has male fans.
No, she has gay male
are
fans.
Homosexual, yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't have straight male fans. So let me just say that she doesn't have straight male fans. Most guys aren't bumping the new Nicki Minaj album.
And by the way, I think that's one of the things. That's why her fan base goes so hard. I seen yesterday, some rapper was like, "Yo, Nicki's one of the top 5 greatest."
Young Thug.
He said
said that, yeah.
Nicki's one of the she's a top 5 or something like that, greatest female artist of all time. And respectfully, Nicki's really talented. She shouldn't even be just in a only female list. I can make an argument that Nicki's top 15 of all time. Man,
I can see that. Yeah,
you get me?
I think there's a strong argument for that.
I think catalog, I have some beef with her catalogs. I think it could be stronger. But rap skills, man, I think she's
dope.
Most of these motherfuckers alive.
I met Nicki. Listen, when I was first launched Vlad TV, our very first office in Chinatown, we were sharing a desk in a studio in Chinatown. This was 2009. And, rappers would come to the studio to record, and Nicki showed up.
Really?
And she was in the booth, and everyone was looking at each other like, who is this? She was so dope. One take, done. You know what I mean? The talent level. Yeah. Nicki was one of these just natural, when you heard Eminem for the first time, it's oh, this guy's just better than everyone else. You know what I mean? At the time. Nicki was
trying to
like
get the
that.
bars back on your side. I see what's going on.
That's okay. I mean, they're on my side, they're off my side. I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit. But I mean, like, yeah, Nicki's dope. But you know, the tough talk. You know, I think you went on Instagram.
So
and you said,
you want me to break down the Nicki thing?
Yeah.
So me and Nicki, we've had like an interesting history, right? I first noticed that she cared maybe somewhat about what I thought. And this is when I'm in the era of me doing YouTube and rappers would react, or sometimes their labels would reach out on behalf of them. I did a video talking about her video, Looking Ass Nigga, where she had Malcolm X, I believe, on the cover. Or
No. She redid the Malcolm X cover.
Okay.
Of him looking out the window.
Okay, something like that.
With the no, you know, yeah. I think she used Malcolm X. She was looking ass.
Yeah, she used it, and I spoke about, like, you know,
it was just a very but that photo was a very serious situation. It was when he was getting his house firebombed, and he was basically looking out his window to protect his family.
Yeah.
It's not like he was a looking ass motherfucker. He was literally protecting his family. And I remember I interviewed his daughter, you know, and asked about that, and she goes, "Well, I don't think Nicki meant any harm, you know, by it, but."
I knew that Nicki Minaj just didn't know any better. She didn't realize that that my father took that picture shortly after his home was firebombed because no one was protecting him or his babies. That was his concern.
So, but that's a reason why social commentary will come into play.
Right.
So I gave my opinion on that, and it clearly wasn't well received. At this time, I'm getting hundreds of thousands of views on everything I speak about, and I believe I got some like legal notice that it's copyright.
What? Okay.
Which is not. And I fought against it, but I was very public in fighting against it. I said, yo, Nicki's trying to take my shit down. And I let it be known. It ended up staying up. And the most direct our communications got after that was when she was going through the breakup with Meek Mill. And I said, and by the way, me and Meek weren't like the best of friends. Like, Meek didn't really like me either. But just giving honest social commentary, I said, well, Meek Mill is going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine because that relationship may have not even really contributed to what his core really wants from him. And that comment alone, I remember someone called me from the industry and they said, what did you do? And I said, what are you talking about what I do? What do you mean what I do? They said, Nicki's calling around asking where you work, who you work for. I said, why? They say, did you do some shit about her and Meek? I said, yeah, but I was respectful in it. I was just speaking the truth. Apparently she didn't like what I said complimenting Meek. Now, from my understanding, she was calling around to leverage, because I guess at this point she's a little bit, okay, who's this fuck nigga speaking like this, whatever. She was calling around like, yo, where does ACT work and how could I silence this motherfucker? Now it's just on YouTube. Didn't have any employers. And I was like, oh shit. Nicki's trying to silence me. And like most things I've taken since then, I don't just be quiet about it. I'm like, great, you just gave me the ammo to go on the attack. I'm going to make this a thing now. I'm going to let everyone know. And I let people know, and everyone said I was lying, like usual. But the relevant industry people who called me was like, yo, and I remember saying to them, I said, why did Nicki call you? Why does Nicki like just ask you for my number? Why doesn't Nicki just get on the phone with me? It's like, she doesn't want to talk to you. But she wanted to know where you work. I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to remember why she sent that message. Why did she send that message? I remember I said something about her. And she just hopped in my DMs. You could probably remind me what it was. She just hopped in my DMs. And she was just so fucking upset. And it's the first time I've ever seen Nicki, the first time Nicki DM'd me, period. But Nicki was saying, yo, I'm gonna get my guy to fuck you up. I'm gonna break your jaw. And I just remember I was like, that was the time when her whole fan base was saying there's a hate train against her. Like everyone wants to hate her.
Oh yeah, no. Nicki, I think, really believes in her head that someone goes out and pays blogs to write negative articles about her.
Her fans believe that too.
Yeah, I think that there's. Let me tell you, I have never gotten a check to write negative articles about anybody. Much less Nicki Minaj. Much less Nicki Minaj. But apparently there's something in her head that believes that there's some weird conspiracy of people that have banded together and pooled their money.
I've spoke to people in her audience and people who do because Nicki has a really large audience.
She does.
And I've just told them the truth. I'm like, what y'all might not understand is because y'all only look at her as queen and you don't understand from anyone else's perspective. Nicki Minaj has not been a nice person to the majority of people in the industry. She's given everyone her ass to kiss. And what happens is people used to be in fear of, well, I can't really speak about her in an honest way because she could get me fired, she could do this, she could do that. Look how she acted when Charlemagne gave some critical reviews of her. And she had Charlemagne on her album. So as the years went by and people felt more comfortable with actually giving a realistic experience of how she is, how nasty she's been, she's thought that it's her other competitors, whether it be a Remy, a Cardi, whoever else. Lil' Kim.
Yeah.
Iggy Azalea, or the labels that represent them that are seeding these things. I've always said this to Nicki fans. If you think anyone who does good, any other woman who does good on the charts, they're paying for views, why does a Nicki Minaj label pay for views? You think there's a label who says, now we just got so much integrity.
Right.
That they're paying blogs, they're doing this, we're not going to do it.
Right. And maybe you get paid by some labels. We don't get paid by nobody. You know what I mean?
If anyone gets paid, you get paid to promote a record.
Exactly.
Nobody's getting paid to hate.
Right.
That doesn't do anything.
It doesn't.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
Again, people have these personal relationships. And I can tell you, I have certain personal relationships with artists that they would probably get more favorable. Like if a story came out or something came up, if I was supposed to give my opinion on it, it'll probably go their way because I just know them as a really good fucking person. And people don't realize, I don't give a fuck if you're Nicki Minaj. You could be, unless you're Jesus, okay? If you treat people shitty, when people hear shitty things about you, they're inclined to believe it if you treated them shitty. If you've always been good to me, and be like, yo, Vlad, I was just on Clubhouse recently. They brought your name up. I said, well, listen, everything I've known about Vlad, this don't sound like Vlad.
I seem to be very popular on Clubhouse. I always hear these Clubhouse conversations about. I heard there's rooms about me.
It was Whack 100.
Oh yeah, okay, there you go.
But I was saying, hey, listen, the Vlad I know, and I've seen how he acts on multiple occasions. That doesn't sound like him. Mm-hmm. That's me. I'm shooting you some bail. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. The thing with Nicki, I don't think there's a lot of people like that. And I think her fan base feels like it's hatred and jealousy.
Jealousy, right.
Which is like,
right.
No, it's not that serious.
We're not jealous of Nicki Minaj.
It's not that serious.
Let me just put that out in the world because, I've gotten accused of hating on Nicki or whatever. And I don't know if I mentioned plastic surgery or whatever else, but.
Her fan base is the most hilarious people ever.
Yeah.
I would say, and I'm guesstimating here, about a quarter to a half of her fan base is gay. But if they're ever ready to diss you, they call you the F word.
Yeah.
It's always like, I'm like, wait, what?
Well, in 2020, the Chrissy Teigen thing.
Yeah.
So that started off when John Legend dropped his album, Bigger Love. It sold 26,000 copies, which is low for a superstar like John Legend. You gave it an L.
Who's an L?
And I guess Chrissy actually posted a comment to you on I guess your Instagram page, which she deleted. But what did she say in that comment?
Okay. So I don't know about the comment. So this is the history of me and Chrissy Teigen. And this is one of the things recently, I was doing this whole thing on my Twitch. I was responding to some dudes and everyone was just like, yo, man, this guy is just like so tasteless. Like he's just doing too much. Like why do this? And I'm like, it reminded me of the 50 Cent line where it's like, yo, listen, you guys only see the reaction. You never see the action. So here's the context for Chrissy Teigen. When 6ix9ine went to jail, and it was very popular, a lot of people were like, oh, they had their, and especially when those jail pictures came out, she had tweeted out, the jail picture, the infamous one where he's posing with his girlfriend? Mm-hmm. She tweeted out a photoshopped picture of Tekashi and me as the girlfriend with a joke associated with it, basically saying, yeah, I could see that motherfucker doing some shit like that.
Okay. So she kind of started it in her own.
She's joking, and also in a lightweight type of way, I know we're heterosexual, so we have zero rights.
Yeah.
But she basically saying that nigga gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She got like 10 million followers, mad followers, right? She did that not once, but twice. Mm. I always remembered it. I'm like an elephant, just like you. Mm-hmm. Except I usually respond right away. Twitter was just too much at the time. Nobody would have cared. Like, right? It was like everybody was making it. I couldn't. So anyway, I always wanted to respond to her because I watched her on social media and she was a social media bully. She would be on social media. She would she would kind of figure out that she could lead the mob in terms of cancellation or bullying, but she would do it in a way that just amused her. And I'm like, damn. The reason why I didn't respond right away, I'm like, yo, you can't go up against the mob. And for one moment, I thought I was within my arena, which was Twitch, and also within a moment that I thought was very fair to criticize her and her husband. I said, yo, listen, John Legend sold 20-something thousand. Mm-hmm. You're the loudest fucking mouth on Twitter. You spend every day bullying someone else. You're leading a mob to cancel people left, right, but how about you fucking lead a mob to go buy his album? Now, I did throw a couple colorful words.
Well, I'll read your quote.
What did I say?
You said, I don't care if you're John Legend's bitch or any other bitch. How about you take that that fucking big ass mouth of yours and that fucking weird ass looking face and start promoting your man's album? Maybe he wouldn't be doing 25,000 fucking his first week.
That sounds like a quote, man. But
and there's something about suck a dick or some shit like that in there. As well.
Yeah. And I think that's a part that I probably shouldn't have put in there. But if we remove all the other stuff from it, the point is there. It was me just saying, hey, listen, how about it wasn't until later till people started looking at Chrissy as a social media bully.
Right, because she ended up getting kind of canceled herself.
Yeah, and by the way, I have the utmost sympathy for her because it's until you're on the receiving end of that do you ever fully understand it. Mm-hmm. And she was the person that had the torch and just pointing and the torch and the pitchfork and saying, "We're going to this person's house." And everyone was marching behind her. And the moment, and I read all her, I read everything she had to say in the moments of people turning against her. And she was just she was basically talking about being a social media addict. She says it's hard to sleep knowing how people don't like her.
Really?
Yes. You never read all, I read everything. This is why, and by the way, I have nothing against her, but I obviously put it out in a way that, was cancelable, right? But it was a reaction to someone who was using their platform to essentially bully me.
Yeah.
And now when I seen that she felt helpless, you have to read, she kept putting up these things like, yo, I feel like she said something like, yo, I feel I'm lost and I have no purpose. She has no purpose without Twitter.
Yeah. How about you just turn off social media?
But
I really let me just say, as someone who, in hip hop, I would say that more people talk, especially in the media world, more people probably talk shit about me than pretty much anybody else. You know what I mean? I'm definitely up there.
Nah, you're up there. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I'm up there, right? I'm up there. And at the end of the day, I've had like death threats. I've had, like ridiculous. I hope your family dies. They reference my father dying. Like shit like that. Like, why don't someone kill his family? The most foul things you could possibly think of have been said, DM'd at me on Twitter, whatever else. And you know what happens when it gets a little too much for me? I just get off social media for a little bit and I just go on with my real fucking life. You can't really get bullied. You can't really get bullied off social media because all you gotta do is turn off social media. You don't gotta look at it. It is true.
What Tyler the Creator said with that's not true.
It is true.
That's not
true. No.
True.
I'm telling you, it is true. You could turn that shit off. You cannot check your DMs. You cannot check your mentions. You cannot check your comments. You could just do your work. And whatever the fuck goes on, like Vlad TV no longer has comments on the website.
I've noticed.
That wasn't because of the bullying or whatever. It was just because there's a lot of toxic shit that went on there and it started to fuck with the business of it. But like at the end of the day,
TMZ doesn't have comments.
TMZ doesn't have
a lot of people are moving away.
A lot of people are moving away from. But the reality is that like we all have a job to do. Like Chrissy Teigen is not a social media employee.
The reason why,
you know what I'm saying?
What you're saying though, the reason why that's not true is that because for you, fortunately, your life outside of social media is fulfilling enough that you could say turn it off. Yeah. For those people, their life is social media.
Fuck out of here. She's happily married to a R&B superstar. She has a child. She has a career.
You're thinking happily. You're thinking happily.
No, I'm sorry, Chris.
No,
I don't know her. I've met John Legend
You're
before.
thinking happily. I know people who fucking they're addicted.
Well, that's like they need some therapy then. They need to go hire a therapist. I have a therapist also. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just talking out my ass. I have a therapist that I meet with once a week. I pay him $500 for 45 minutes, and it's well worth it. He's helped me through a lot of issues. He continues to help me. If that's really your issue, get off fucking social media, get a therapist, or find a close friend to talk to, and just move on. Okay? It is what it is.
Let me give you a breakdown of someone like Chrissy Teigen's life. There's no more aspirations to have. You have the guy, you have the money. You have everything.
You have the kid.
But remember, even with Ayesha Curry, you got the best basketball player, all the money in the world. What was she talking about? I wish some more niggas would like my picture on Twitter or on Instagram.
I wish more people would slide in my DMs.
After you've accomplished your dreams, which are usually distractions that are good for the mind and soul. Yeah. You're left to your own devices of what makes you happy. And you get to realize you get to realize like for the people who don't have money, they're like, oh hell no. If I get all that money, I'll be doing this and third. 10 years with that money, you're gonna look for other things. That's just a reality of things. So for her, I think she was a social media addict. And it's easy to say, it's easy to say just turn on social media, but that's just like, hey, saying, I know it sounds ridiculous, yo, just put down the pills or stop. Put down the alcohol.
No, I wouldn't compare those two. But I mean, I respect your opinion.
No, I really believe that. I'm telling you.
Taking that, yeah, I mean, not taking drugs versus a social media thing.
It's an addiction.
It is an addiction, but it's much easier to fix than an actual.
When I read the Chrissy
drug
Teigen
addiction, that's actually changing the biology in your brain.
When I read the Chrissy Teigen, like when she was giving these notes, and because she was really like kind of lamenting the fact that people just hated her now. She was she seemed depressed.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, buy anything she wants. She's just going to show up she can buy a private jet. She got her husband shows and shows and shows. All of that did not make her happy. She wanted that social acceptance. And by the way, we just can't sit here and act like people don't want social acceptance. And these days, social acceptance manifests itself in a way of social media.
Right, and of course, there's a lot of
these motherfuckers don't really go out like you got to realize where the fuck Chrissy Teigen live. Like she probably only interact with actual people through the screen. You think she got a bunch of friends? You ever heard about Chrissy Teigen in the club? Turn it up. I never heard about it. She don't got no friends.
Yeah, I don't know.
She been talking to people.
I don't know her. Like, you know what I'm saying? I simply don't know her. You know, and listen, there's a lot of plastic surgery that she has done over the years. Like there's a new set of plastic surgery where she's kind of unrecognizable. Like doesn't even look like Chrissy Teigen anymore. She looks like a Kardashian at this point.
Word?
Yeah, you've never seen the hold on a second.
Oh man. Hey, listen, if it works for them, man.
I'm not bullying Chrissy Teigen right now because you know what I'm saying.
I've realized and I've
The new Chrissy Teigen 3.0 right here.
what? That's not her picture.
That's her. That's her IG.
No way.
Yes. Yes way.
Okay, so what does that tell you though, Vlad? That tells you and it showcases there is a unhappiness with oneself, right? You're seeking and trying to get to a point where you could, which by the way, it's never ended. The people who usually go under the knife, they never find the perfection that they initially set out to find, right? So I'm going to assume, and this is just my amateur opinion, there's unhappiness there. There is unhappiness with a lack of social acceptance. And she's relied on social media to give her that social acceptance for over a decade.
Yeah, I guess.
Now you remove one part of what's made her somewhat stable. She's in shambles.
All right. Well, listen, Chrissy, if you're listening to this,
Come on, Vlad TV.
get off social media.
Come on, Vlad TV, and talk about this shit, man.
Get a therapist. Spend some more time with your child.
I would
You know
love
what
to
I'm
have a
saying?
sit down with Chrissy Teigen.
Spend some more time with your husband. Try to, improve that relationship. And you will see how much of a fucking waste of time all that social media shit was.
I would love to sit down with Chrissy Teigen. The only reason why is what we do on social media or just the internet in general, what the energy that comes through it, that a lot of it is hate or bullying.
Of course.
It manifests in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
And having a conversation with her where, I don't think she meant to piss me off when she did. She just thought it was a funny meme that she was going to get 100,000 likes on it. Right? But of course, I held it for years. And after years, it came out one night, I'm lit, and also her husband's sales came out. And I go off at the handle.
Yeah, the pieces come together that day.
So
I feel you.
it's one of those things where I think, we live in a different world. Vlad, they told me about going to the metaverse. Like these motherfuckers is addicted to Twitter and Instagram. Imagine nigga going to the metaverse and they could become a whole new person. They told me about buying yachts in the metaverse right now, Vlad.
I feel you.
So if you think they were addicted to that shit, imagine what they about to be addicted to now.
Freddie Gibbs. I used to run into Freddie Gibbs. I remember I ran into him like a complex con. I'd run into him at clubs in LA and so forth. We would, we knew each other. We'd interact. We talked about doing an interview. We'd exchange numbers. He wouldn't hit me back. That's cool. No one's required to do an interview with me. I don't take it personally. But then I saw over the years, he would leave little disparaging comments. Like he'd be going on other people's Instagram page. Like if someone talked shit about me on another Instagram page, he'd come in the comments and laugh or talk
Dick
some
riding.
more shit.
That's what we call them.
Some dick riding shit. Right, exactly. So I guess with you two, on Everyday Struggle, did you call him irrelevant?
Okay. So first of all, and I just learned this, like I was kicking it with my family recently and my brother one time, one of the first times I ever went to LA, back in 2017, Carl Cherry had invited me to a Spotify party. By the way, how interesting how the universe brings shit together 4 years later or 5 years later. And when I went there, my brother, so I'm kicking my brother last week and be like, yo, he's like, what's up with like you and Freddie? And I'm like, man, I don't know what this guy's problem. He's like, yo, do you know that you met Freddie? You and Freddie had a conversation. I had no idea, or maybe I just forgot. Freddie met me at a Carl Cherry party, which is a Spotify party, in 2017 on like a balcony, and he was trying to get me to smoke. He was like, yo, Ag, you should smoke this with me. I don't smoke. So I was like, nah. You know what I mean? And I remember people, I'm like, yo, and again, I don't remember it that well, but he remembers it. Wayno, who also was with me, my brother calls Wayno, and Wayno says, Ag, don't you remember? He was trying to get you to smoke. Like, yo, y'all were chopping it up. Y'all were cool. I'm like, damn. For whatever reason, I don't remember. I'm on Everyday Struggle. One of the reasons I believe I'm there is not only for my social media popularity, it's for me to just tell the truth. I feel like the media or current day media is all about just like straight dick riding. Like people don't tell the truth about, people who are beloved or people who they're cool with. And I wanted to break that mold. I want to, as much as I can, we all get a little bit influenced or possibly biased at times, but I wanted to just tell the truth. Freddie Gibbs was an individual who I defended. when he had a rape charge in like, I can't remember, it might be
in Europe or something, right?
somewhere in Europe.
Right.
And I defended him. I was like, yo, I'm looking at this story based on the media reports. Look like it's bullshit. I think he's getting a raw deal. It's a black guy who's out there. He's a rapper. They're just pinning everything on him. I hope it works out for him. I covered that story relentlessly. Did like 4 or 5 videos on it. He broke free from that case.
Yep.
I'm thinking, listen, at least if he never knew anything about me, he knows maybe I'm not the biggest fan of his music because I wasn't advocating for his music, but I was advocating for him being free because I felt it was fucked up. Now, not because I did that means I'm like, you're a super fan or whatever the case is. I'm reserved and I want to stand in my opinion of telling the truth to the audience. The topic comes up on Everyday Struggle. And the topic was, he's had an issue with Young Jeezy. And he said because Jeezy has sold like around like 40,000 records that would.
Right. Jeezy originally signed Freddie Gibbs.
Yep.
They had a falling out at one point, and Freddie went on a tirade about Jeezy that lasted for years and years.
Yes. So the topic is Freddie Gibbs calls Jeezy irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Freddie's last sales was around where Jeezy was selling at that time. So I made the obvious comment. I said, well, it's hard for me to agree with Freddie that Jeezy is irrelevant, given the fact that both of them are selling around the same range. If Jeezy is irrelevant, you are irrelevant as well.
Right. And to be fair, Jeezy, regardless of the sales of that particular album, Jeezy has a catalog. He is on legend status in hip hop. You cannot say he's just irrelevant.
It's Jeezy, man.
It's Jeezy.
Oh.
You know what I mean? You can love him, hate him, whatever.
It's Jeezy.
Jeezy shows up at a club and he's going to shut it down.
Imagine the motherfucker saying that Nas's project was just sold like 22,000. Imagine somebody saying Nas is
irrelevant.
You're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But whatever. I tackled that. It's a debate show. You got to come with your facts, whatever. I said, well, I'm just going off what you said. If he's irrelevant and y'all both sold around the same, y'all both irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Very harmless. I'm not even attacking him like that. I'm just kind of like, pointing out the hypocrisy maybe in what he said. All of a sudden, he gets on social media. He says, Akademiks a bitch. All right, cool. I'm used to me debating facts and people attacking me.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. But it doesn't stop with just him saying that. He continues. Man, Akademiks is a nigga I would want to slap. It's a threat, but okay, cool. Still don't say nothing. Now, at this time, and this is where I realized the weird psyche of Freddie Gibbs. For him, he's 6'9" in a lot of ways. But he's 6'9" in a sense that he is trying to beef his way to another level of hip hop.
Yep.
He's looking at, as long as my name is in the media sphere, I'm gaining attention, I'm gaining supporters, and this is going to turn my music up, turn up the sales. It's going to make me a star or a superstar.
Right. And to be fair, this was coming at a time where his buzz was finally starting to build up. Because you got to understand.
He was irrelevant for 20 years.
Yeah.
Keep in mind.
He got signed to Jeezy, maybe 10, 12 years ago? Like, he had really been in that project, whatever he did with Jeezy never really went anywhere. And for literally for years, because when I would see him out, he'd be solo. He didn't have an entourage. He didn't have security, whatever. Like, he was a struggling rapper living in LA, I believe. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So finally, he's getting some buzz and producers are starting to work with him. So, okay, I can see from his point of view, okay, so now I'm going to start beef with Akademiks and I'll start beef with
But he started doing, it's like, I understand artists trying to do the 6ix9ine method. But the part of the story everybody forgets is that at least for the majority of the time, 6ix9ine was rolling with Treyway. And those dudes were cashing in all the checks that 6ix9ine's mouth was right.
Right.
So 6ix9ine's telling 20 niggas, oh, y'all suck my dick, right? When Shotty sees them dudes and them dudes even look at them differently, you're getting shot at. Freddie Gibbs isn't that.
Yeah.
So I'm watching him doing it, but I understand why he's picking on me. Like, well, it's Akademiks. Like, he's not going to physically do anything to me, right? But then he also has been doing it with other rappers, right? Now,
Gunna, one of them.
Gunna, one of them. So anyway, there was a exchange back and forth back then. This is like 2 years ago. And I'm going to be honest with you, because I didn't know he was super social media savvy. He made T-shirts with my face on it. I remember calling my lawyer and I'm like, yo, stop this shit. And literally they told me, they were like, yo, the dude is broke. Like, he's not even making enough for us to really take it to court.
Yeah.
It was like, he probably made like 20 grand. And I'm like, I don't want to make shit. But they're like, yo, to really follow this suit through, like, you're going to lose. Like, are you down to? And I'm like, shit. But he made so anyway, he's making memes. He got all type of shit. And I just stopped going back and forth with him. Because it really started over him saying, I'm on Twitch one day. He says, yo, so look at this fucking loser Academics that you guys are listening to. You know, my son lives in my son's room is bigger than his entire apartment. Now, I just bought like a $2 million crib. I'm like, I know you just chill out, Vlad, but I couldn't do it. Not with a bum like Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs a fucking bum. And this is one of the things I had to change the whole perception when it came to hip hop. These rappers are broke. They're not making shit. So I remember tweeting at the bum and I said, yo, listen, cut that shit out. I said, matter of fact, let's go, which obviously I knew he wasn't going to say yes to. So, you know, it was, I guess, the same for the same. But I was like, listen, we could compare whatever you want. We could compare tax returns. We could compare income statements. Anything you want. I'm going to just show you that you're just a fucking struggling rapper. Not because you caught one song or like one little album. I know what rappers make. Rappers don't make shit. There's mad producers richer than the rappers. The label owner, 20 times as rich as a rapper. You got a chain and 2 cars and that's it. That's it. Like, I just, and I'm going to be honest too, getting closer to the music industry, I realized that these niggas, they live in the facade. So this is why I couldn't let it go anymore. You got to pull their cards. I know how much you make. I could do the quick math. And I know what you would make if you get 100% of it, but you're not. So you shouldn't be talking. So anyway, I took that approach, but he took the funny approach. I'm not going to lie, it worked. So whatever, I see people, everybody's clowning me. I'm like, all right, bet. I let it go. Last year, I go to LA. Links with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about Freddie Gibbs.
Yep.
He's not even in. I'm thinking that shit's done and over with.
Yep. You go on No Jumper.
I go on No Jumper, kicking it, have a good time there too. All of a sudden, when I get back, I think I had gotten back to the East Coast. So I'm like back in Jersey. You know what it says on social media? Man, I knew where Akademiks was. He said, oh, I had to drop on Akademiks when he was at No Jumper. I could have smoked him.
One of the stupidest things to really utter out your mouth, Freddie Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like, yo, like really.
Yo, but Vlad, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this question.
Because karma's a motherfucker when you push some shit out there like that, Fred. Like that's, you know what I mean?
Sometimes I can't tell if I'm being trolled. You know why? He went on Mike Tyson's like podcast, like the Smoke podcast. And he said, yo, I shot a crackhead 9 times. Clearly that's fake. Come on. So sometimes I try to stop myself. I'm like, maybe
he really said that. All right, his name got to be Freddie Phibbs from now on. We got to rename him.
No.
From now on, it's Freddie Phibbs.
He said he shot a crackhead 9 times and the crackhead survives. Like, come on. You know, it's but that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I know he's doing a 6ix9ine in terms of saying wild salacious shit.
Yeah. My
only thing with that, right? I have him in the backpack rapper lane. Maybe he doesn't always fit, but he's one of the dudes who's super lyrics. He's about lyricism and shit like that, right? Here's the thing. Those artists never promote themselves by trying to be involved in beef or just look like the joke. That's a 6ix9ine-ish method. And I'm watching him just saying these things, which is, it got to be for comedic value if you're saying you shot a crackhead 9 times.
Yeah.
Like, come on now, brother. You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, I also learned something about like his audience. I was also thinking about his audience because recently I started exposing him. I thought his audience was like, say like Lil Durk's audience. If Lil Durk's audience realized that he was a fraud, they wouldn't support him no more. It's over. If they realize that, yo, listen, this guy has never even held a gun. Like this guy, like, you know, if it was known, right? But it's not true. But if it was known, like, yo, Lil Durk's father is a police officer. His brother's a district attorney. Like,
right. And that's for you see
Yo,
I remember you said that his dad's a cop. His dad's a cop, which I think he's confirmed.
nah, he's admitted to.
The district attorney thing, I think he's denied.
He's going to deny it. He has another sibling that's a doctor.
Okay.
They're all basically upstanding citizens.
Upstanding citizens, right?
To keep it real, they could run a trauma center, a police station, and a goddamn courthouse right next to each other.
Oh my God.
This is a family business.
Right. Well then, okay. So then the back and forth was going between y'all and whatever else. And then I called you up one night recently.
My man Vlad calls me up and he says, "Ak, Merry Christmas."
I said, I got an early Christmas. So what had happened was,
break the story down, Vlad. I like hearing this.
I get a phone call from somebody I've known for a while, who's he's not a social media guy.
Yeah.
He's not a cloud chaser. He's not a rapper. He's not a producer. He's just someone who's been in the industry mix for a while. And I'm not going to say who it is because this was said in confidence. But he was like, yo, listen, Jim Jones just ran into Freddie Gibbs and it got bloody. Basically, he even went into some detail of like, yeah, Jim had blood all over his clothes. So when you see him later on in the studio, he's wearing his wife beater and stuff like that because he had to change out of his clothes because he had Freddie Gibbs' blood all over his clothes and stuff like that. So, I put it out there. Freddie Gibbs responds to me by blocking me on Twitter.
Why did he block you?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's like
He goes back and forth with me all day, blocks you.
He blocks me because I'm sure at that point, because I'm like, okay, listen, I'm going to break the story. And you could run with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which you respected and so forth. But I broke the story.
Of course.
Vlad TV broke the story. He started to go viral. I'm sure he was getting tagged to fucking hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when the story came out, I was already told, I'm like, look, Jim is not going to basically admit to this, right? He's not going to deny it, but he's not going to admit to it. So just know this.
Admitted to it.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Right? And, it came out, some videos had floated around where you hear the altercation in the background. People are like, well, how come it's not on video? You going to tell me that a spontaneous fight at a high-end restaurant is going to get caught on video for the last 30 seconds? Like, no. Yeah. Like, it's spontaneous. Like, shit just happened. No one had a camera out. It is what it is. No one was pointing at them, whatever else. But the reality is that Jim never admitted to it, but he was going to name his album Prime 112, which is where it happened. Freddie Gibbs posted up a picture.
Jim has played that so well.
Yeah, Jim played it well. Freddie Gibbs made a video like, come on, man, like you're walking through the airport like he's cool and nothing happened. We don't know when that video came from.
Somebody said he was trying to walk a straight line after he just came out of the head trauma unit out of the hospital. Man, I don't know what's going on. Man.
So, but the reality is, and this is why we stand behind that story, neither one has come out and said, this is a total lie. Nothing happened.
But well, Freddie, he responded to me and he said, no one touched me. He said that. He said, no one touched me, which is clear.
How responds to you how?
On Twitter.
Oh, publicly?
Well,
I'm blocked, so I don't know.
Yeah. He responded to me and because I said, yo, you got beat up at Prime 112. But he said, no one touched me.
That's not what I heard. It's not what I heard.
Vlad, we know what happened.
We know what happened.
We know what happened. Right. And by the way, I've heard from a lot of other people as well, like, yo, hey, they got into an altercation. They got the best of him. Which, by the way, here's the thing. I don't think people would care as much as if they didn't see him sneak dissing constantly. The whole Jim Jones thing is a very long historied situation.
Yeah.
He, for whatever reason, and this is what I'm trying to say, the only reason why I mention the jobs and occupations of his family is because I need people to understand that this ain't no kid that was just always delinquent running the streets who was terrifying the hood like a menace. This was a kid from a good family who was trying to be down, gets into rap, and people from his town don't really believe he's like that. So now he's overcompensating. And how do you overcompensate? You try to be the arbiter of all shit gang.
Right. I mean, yeah, because he dissed Gunna. He called him, said that he was on Crime Stoppers or whatever else. Yeah. Gunna dissed him on his new album. And so forth. It wasn't. He said, "It's dummy. This ain't Crime Stoppers. It was CNN, and it was like I guess for his brother who's still doing life in prison or whatever else." But I mean, but at the end of the day, it's just sort of like, you go and poke people. Like I think people like Freddie, they go and poke people.
The situation with Jim Jones already, they got shot at over that. You know that, right?
I heard something about that.
Yeah, he got shot at over
I
that.
heard something about that, but he started it. And
Okay,
this is my whole point: is that you're out here.
I would think you would have stopped.
With people.
I think you would have stopped.
I mean, listen, you're starting shit with me. Like I'm leaving you alone, Freddie. Like I've never said nothing about Freddie, and then I'm seeing this like over and over again, and it's like, all right, like you gotta understand, like, and this is for everyone, not just Freddie Gibbs. You gotta understand that when you talk shit about powerful, rich people, they didn't get to that point by being pushovers. They may look like a pushover in your eyes. Oh, this dude's soft. Oh, I could beat his ass. This dude ain't from the street or whatever else. Like, I've been through some shit. I don't back down. I got money. I got, you know what I mean? Like, I'm
about to pull them little Russian hits on you, man.
Listen, I'm going to stand my fucking ground. Like, and I got the risk.
That's another thing. That's another thing. It's like, people like, well, if Freddie runs in the act, like, what do you think? Like, do you think, like, I'm going to be on my knees, like, begging this guy, like,
right.
Please? And that's the whole, like, facade about it.
It's the facade of it all. And that's the thing. Like you out here causing problems with people. And like I said, people like me, like, when I saw all the little fuck comments from him, I'm like, all right, I'll just wait. I won't respond. And, and my whole thing is, like, I have a lot of friends in this industry. I get these types of phone calls. And if I'm cool with you, you know what I would do? What I've done many times in the past? I will hit that person up and say, listen, this just came across my desk. I'm not going to put it out, but you should be aware that this is going to circulate. You know what I'm saying? We could possibly shut it down. I mean, I could work with you.
The story of, and by the way, there's the video of that. So there's a video that a guy, and by the way, I told him I was going to offer $100,000. I would have bought it. I needed that was going to be like a fucking artifact. I would have sold it as NFT. It was going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But the guy, and from what I hear, this is just, this is word of mouth at this point. There's footage of it, right? And by the way, there's security cam footage of it. I already tried to get it. They won't. Salute the problem to it. They won't do it. Like, I try to hit them with a TMZ shit. They won't do it. I won't call the guy's name. But there's a guy who captured a good amount of it. Mm-hmm. And from what...
You saw it?
Well, I didn't see it yet.
Didn't see it, okay.
But in trying to attain it from him, which I was down to offer money, he said... And he said this publicly too. He said, yo, listen, this video will have people going to jail because of some of the people who are caught doing certain things. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But he's the one who, if you ever seen the video of the start of it and you hear like there's a guy and you hear some commotion over his shoulder, which is when it happened.
I think I saw the same video.
He has the video because I guess he probably turned up and started filming a bit and he just won't put it out. And by the way, I've seen certain people who I'm going to say might be involved with what happened, also hit him up like, yo, try to either attain the video or get rid of it, whatever the case is. But again, I just look at some situation like that and I'm like, I don't know why if you're having some marginal success in your career, you would start those issues that now the little money that you're getting, you're not have to spend on. And here's the thing. Here's the story. They said he got beat up with his security. You know what that means? You talking too much shit. You can't have one
security. I heard the
security
guard got stomped out really badly, actually. That's what I heard. I heard he was on the floor getting kicked like the whole night. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, listen, man, Jim Jones has been Jim Jones for a while. Like, he's known for a certain type of thing. Like you've seen him get into, you saw the whole Max B thing. You saw the whole French Montana thing. Like, that this is the dude that if you go at him a certain type of way, he's going to come back at you a certain type of way.
So, Vlad,
you know what I mean?
You help me understand this. So say you go through that. You already went through a possible shooting that might be related to some stuff.
Yeah.
Again, this is all you putting out energy and dissing people and acting like you're this big vice lord. But we're not seeing you do anything. Everybody's doing stuff to you. Keep in mind, I'm mirroring it with 6ix9ine.
Yeah.
6ix9ine had some dudes they were gonna do it on his behalf.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, I have 2 sold out shows coming in New York. It's gonna be great. And you're basically inviting all the people who now do live in New York. Mm-hmm. That's their town.
Right.
But really, you're alerting the police. That's really all you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you tweet it out there like, yo, my show's in New York. You know what I mean? Like, like it's basically just saying, yo, NYPD, please, it's trying to block. I just got to get in and get out. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I'm just wondering why. I can't understand his motive. I thought it was just promotion, as he tries to say sometimes. But I've hit him up even privately, and I said, listen, what do you want to do? You want to link up, handle this? Do you want to we could do a podcast. Like we could scream at each other. We could do whatever you want to do.
Right.
He seems very determined to only be a troll on social media, but troll it in a way where I don't think it's harmless. So I don't know.
Well, last question. You recently signed a deal with Spotify.
Yeah.
You and I have never talked about, numbers. I had heard it's an 8-digit deal in the atmosphere. I had heard that. Listen.
Vlad, I'm an
and congratulations if it is.
Vlad, I'm an immigrant guy from Jamaica, man. That's all I got to tell you, man. Like, where that numbers? These numbers that start coming around, I don't know. Gilly told me a number, then another person. I'm like, how are all y'all in my business?
I don't
and
know.
Where's this? And also, I'm not opposed to letting these numbers fly.
Right, exactly. It's not an insult.
Yeah. Just to go ahead.
It's a compliment.
The next time I negotiate a deal, I'll be making sure I double up on that.
Well, number one, congrats, man. I mean, you had the first podcast was with Tekashi and Wack. I thought that was a very interesting combination.
And by the way, it's called Off the Record on Spotify. Yep.
Off the Record, sorry, on Spotify. Kodak Black, I thought was a major coup.
Yeah.
That you pulled off. And really since then, I mean, you had Rich the Kid who ended up walking off.
Yeah. It's been an interesting ride.
It's been an interesting ride, man. It's just interesting how, like, you have like the e-bros of the world that try to downplay people like you and I who we're these little entities that we're not big, like a Hot 97 morning show or so forth. When you see, like, I love to see people like yourself come in and get all the big guests that they can't even get.
I think Ebro has changed his mind on those things. Or I think if he has, I think in his mind he's changed his mind, but he might be playing the role of representing the other opinion. Because if you look at it now, Ebro pretty much is doing a podcast on Apple. It's like, what are we going to call Apple? Like, they save your broadcast, and I would bet that more people listen not live, like.
Yeah.
It's essentially like streaming on Twitch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt like with radio, listen, man, I've tried to get on radio when I was first a DJ and everything else like that. It's just like radio has always had this like looking down at you kind of mentality, for years and years of like, oh, that's just a YouTube guy. Oh, that's just a podcast guy. That's just a social media guy. We're the real deal. When in reality,
I think it was because of ad dollars.
Maybe.
And I think they started seeing their mortality when ad dollars started to move elsewhere.
Exactly. Especially with how YouTube, the CPMs have gone up tremendously over the past like 2 years. It's like, it's so funny to me of like these guys, like the I'm not even gonna name some of them, but it's like they go and take these little shots and they go and talk their little shit when like financially I dwarf all of them put together. You know what I'm saying?
Like, talk that shit now, Vlad. Come on now. Talk that shit,
really, man. Like, you could throw the whole Hot 97 morning show in a fucking pot, and it wouldn't even take a small dent out of what Vlad TV makes.
Okay. I was gonna say, I know you make more than everybody put together at Hot 97.
Possibly,
not possibly.
Possibly. Like honestly, I was talking to my man about this. It's like when I look at like my freshman class. Like my DJ freshman class, like all the mixtape DJs that came up in my era, 2000, the early 2000s, the mid 2000s. I would say Khaled is probably the valedictorian. He's the one that probably made the most. I would say I'm probably second. Maybe DJ Drama is either tied or third. Somewhere.
Drama's having a lot of success.
Drama's had a lot of success with Uzi Vert and Jack Harlow and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm not.
And by the way, you know the great and it's if we're about to end, it's best to end on this. Is like, I love when they're like, yo, why do they call him DJ Akademiks? He's not even a DJ. You look at the biggest DJs like in hip hop,
DJ Vlad, DJ Khaled, none of us DJ anymore.
Not DJ. Like, you're like, that's the only thing I've always looked at hip hop to be like, yo, if we would all be DJing if it was an art that was actually revered and paid.
Yeah, right.
You know, what DJing started to mean to me was you are the purveyor of the culture that like you need to figure out how you could be important.
Exactly.
And if you couldn't do that, like there's still guys who are like, yo, just book me for your party, $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You know what I mean? But some people, they've realized like, hey, listen, there's change in media. We can have platforms. Oh, shoot. You know what? I'm meeting all these new kids who are coming to these parties. Let me sign one of them. Let's do something like growth.
No, exactly.
They shit on growth.
Exactly. But my point in all this is saying that all of the guys that were part of my era when we were first starting out, the ones who remained on the radio are not in the conversation. Not a single one.
I agree.
They're all relatively financially struggling in one way or another. Yeah, some of them have nice paychecks and stuff like that, but, from the radio station. But in general, it's everyone that said, Khaled started making all his money when he left the radio and really started focusing on his shit. Of course. The radio shit will hold you back. You got to be there every day, and you got to be under their umbrella, and you got to be nice to everyone. And you can't burn any bridges.
It's an old system.
It's an old system. It's an old system.
Hopefully you're a personality, but then you do some mixed show DJ stuff. You're probably taking payola on the side. Then you're running to 5 clubs a night. Could you imagine how hectic that is? You're not even
shout
like if you
out
got
to
a
DJ
family.
Envy that I heard still does that, man. I don't know how he does it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how the fuck he does it.
But
I'm saying
Envy need like 20 new cars every year, so he got good.
There you go. But what I'm saying is that all these dudes that remained on the radio, who secured their radio position, are so proud of it and think they're so much better than people like you and I.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you.
They never went anywhere.
I can't even remember the last time somebody said some shit on radio that we're even talking about.
Facts. Because you have to be political. You have to be nice. You have to softball the fucking questions. You have to be diplomatic. You want to get invited to the listening party. You want to be invited to the white party. You want to rub shoulders with the Jay-Z's of the world. And my thing is, I realized a long time ago, that's just, fuck all that. Fuck all that.
Even bigger than that, I think they haven't realized that the audience have gotten smarter. Yeah. What they want to consume isn't somebody saying, hey, tune into the next hour, you can win some tickets. Here's the top 10 at 10. Like, nobody would hear that no more.
Right.
Nobody would, here's 20 ads. Nobody would hear that. People rather conversations like this.
Yeah.
This is why podcasts are popping.
Exactly.
Talk brace on actual these morning shows, that's not popping no more.
Yep.
People want to just hear regular conversations.
Right, yeah. And whenever I've talked to radio stations, they're like, well, we don't want interviews. We want little 2-minute pieces. We want you to play music the whole rest of the time. And I'm like, I ain't doing that shit, man. I'm not.
I wonder how that works.
I'm not. DJ Akademiks, man, at long last, we finally sit down on my platform.
No, of course.
Appreciate it. We talked about doing it. You know what I'm saying? It finally happened.
Yeah.
This is actually the first shoot in the new New York studio.
Jeez, nice.
This is first. We've been building this thing for months. I spent a huge bag on making this as beautiful and as high tech as it is, man. And I felt that it was only right to have DJ Akademiks be my first guest.
Hey, no, I'm very glad to be the first one, and I've been such a supporter of what you got going on. And
thank you.
Hey, listen, first of many more. I only have one stipulation though, lad.
What's that?
I'm not doing no TV interview with you. You got to be in the room with me.
All right, there we go.
That's it.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Peace.